Welcome to Must Know ADU Strategies for 2023, presented by ADU Resource Center. I'm your host, Danny Johnson. The goal of this broadcast is to create an informational hub for homeowners planning an ADU project of their own. This will be an ongoing webinar beginning in January of 2023 with special guest speakers from our industry so you can get a variety of tips and information to strategize your very own ADU project. Some of the topics we're going to cover are updates and tips for financing solutions, information on the CalHAPA ADU grant, and new legislation laws for ADUs and more. ADU Resource Center began building custom and tract homes in California and Florida back in 2010. In 2020, new legislation changed ADU restrictions for most city ordinances in California. We saw this as a new opportunity and wanted to pitch in and help affordable housing solutions. That's when we changed our DBA to ADU Resource Center and never turned back. Our company is now ADU specific, meaning that's all we build. Since our transition, we now have over 300 plus ADU projects in various stages of permitting, planning, and construction. We are well on our way to becoming the fastest growing and largest ADU builder in California. Southern Californians have chosen ADU Resource Center as their first choice for project concept designs, architectural design, structural engineering, Title 24 engineering, low impact development planning, plan submission, revisions and retrieval, licensed general contracting, landscape and hardscape design all under one company so we can effectively manage the entire project from beginning to end and to streamline better communication, coordinate smoother handoffs between divisions and teams, and reduce mistakes with more eyes on your project. And now, let's begin our program. Hey, welcome everybody to a brand new show. It's June, and that means we are in peak season. To my left, I want to say hello to Michael Koromokos, and you can't see him off screen, but that's Tricky Vic over there handling the sound and the lighting for us tonight. Thanks, Vic. I think we're going to do something a little bit different tonight. We have some people on the panel. I want to say hello to Meredith Munger-Stowers. Thank you for joining us, Meredith. And we're going to have a couple of other guest speakers. I think what we're going to do tonight, if any of you have been on any of our past shows, we've had, I would say, kind of a podcast style where we kind of control the microphones and so forth. But tonight, we're opening it up. We're going to want to hear what you got to say. So I want to make sure that everybody that's on tonight is familiar with how this is set up. So look down at the very bottom of your screen because you're going to get an opportunity to ask us some questions. So if you see that little thing at the bottom of the screen that says chat, click on that real quick if you will, and make sure that you know how to open the chat dialog box because at some point in time, you're going to want to do one of two things. There's a little thing that says, where's the little thing that says raise your hand? That's under reactions. So here's how the format's going to work. The first half of the show, I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about ADUs and financing. And then the second half, we are going to turn it over to you guys. We do have some questions that came in during registration. So we'll answer the ones that I think are generic and universal that everybody wants to know the answers to. And then we'll let you guys ask more specific. If there's any questions that are a little bit, not 100% relatable, but it requires a comprehensive answer. What we may want to do is reset you for tomorrow, and we'll answer it privately where you don't have a clock on you, and we can take all our time and answer it the way you want. But click on that little thing that says reactions, and I want you to see where you can raise your hand. So at the second half of the show, if you have a question that you would like us to address or anyone on the panel, click that little goodie, raise your hand, and then over in that chat box, I want you to type your question because Tricky Vic over there is going to select you, but we want to be able to read your question so that everybody can see it in advance. So keep the chat dialog box open throughout the show. We're going to be posting updates and memos and links that you can click on to make appointments to talk to Meredith about financing. You can make appointments to talk about your project with us and schedule video calls or on-site calls. They're all free, cost you nothing. And that's about it. What else you got? You got anything for us? before we begin?
I know we're ready to rock and roll.
All right, so let's have a look. Let's see what's on tonight's show, by the way. Let's see if I have my ducks in a row, as it were, tonight's program. So now we'll click over here and let's share what we're going to do. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Let me know when everybody can see. So on tonight's show, I think what we're going to do, if you've been on our show before, here's the problem. If we have a brand new audience, we don't want to talk about things that we've already talked about and then omit something that they are wanting to hear. So we are going to basically talk about how to get started building your own ADU and financing strategies for ADUs, because as we all know, the rates are not what they used to be. And a lot of us have great interest rates that we don't want to forfeit, but there are some key things that Meredith is going to teach us on what we can do. And then we're going to go a little bit into ADU designing and permitting overview with Michael. And then we turn it loose to you guys. We have a few questions we'll start off with that I think people want to know, and then we'll start taking questions from there. So let's see. Let me open my first little goodie for you guys. Okay, stop sharing that one. And let's go this one. Give me 2 seconds. How to build. There we go. Okay. All right. Let me know when you can see my screen, because here comes the goods. Can you see it, Michael?
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of people say, look, never built an ADU before, don't know the first thing about it, think we want to do it, heard about it, don't know how to get started. So let's take a look. It's really simple. There's only really 3 steps that you've got to know. How do you get started? Here we go. You have to be able to dream it first. Well, you have to be able to dream what you want to build. Then we design it, and then, of course, we build it. So what's that look like? Something to consider when you're going to do the dreaming part. Ask yourself 4 questions. Who is it for? How many rooms do you think you need? How many people do you need to sleep? Where do you think it logically fits in your property? And when do you want it finished by? So a lot of times people have things that they're not sure of the design process or the timeline. So they're probably not expecting how long it's going to take. So what I always say is, look, figure out how long when you want it built, and then work backwards by the timeline. We'll figure out when that means you should get started. So let's take a look at these one at a time. To start off with, who is it for? So we want to know, is it for an aging parent? Is it for a growing family? Is it for one of your children wants to come home? Your daughter wants to come live with you, and you turned her bedroom into a sewing room, and you don't want to give it up. I understand. Or it could be for rental income. Let's pinpoint your motivation of who it's for. Second thing is, how many bedrooms? So is it one person, a couple? Is it going to be a small family, or is it for 4 or more? How many bodies? Because this is going to determine how many bedrooms you think you need. Where will it go? So there's a variety of different ways that we can put an ADU on your property. We can convert a garage. We can do a detached project. We can do an attached, which means it doesn't mean it's connecting to the main house, but it does touch. Or it could actually touch a part of the detached garage, which is still considered attached. Or do I want to build a 2-story over my garage because I want to save the parking? All of these things are important. So we want to figure out what's the most logical placement for it. So we want to know where you think you want to build it. All right, so when do we need it finished? This is the when part. And I think this is probably one of the most important questions, because you have to figure out if it's for your mom who's in, let's say that her health is not what it used to be, and you want to keep a close eye on her. Well, you can put her in Leisure World down at Seal Beach for $5,000 a month if you just won the lotto. And if you haven't, then maybe you want to put her closer to home in the backyard where she can have breakfast with the kids every day while she's here. And that's a great idea. But what we want to figure out is, when is that going to be ready? So if we look at the timeline, the plans and permitting for most cities, not all, but most, are between 6 and 7 months. The construction part is about 3 or 5 months, depending upon the scope of work. So if you add it all together, the average turnaround time per project is about 12 months. So let's look at it in terms of sensibility. If you needed it done now, it won't be. If you are okay with sometime this time next year, then we're speaking the same language, but you're going to want to get started with your design process in June. Otherwise, you will be tardy. Next. Okay, so this is kind of what the timeline looks like for the plans and permits. And if you get designing with us and we create something, you'll want to figure out that you've got a certain amount of time to get things done. I want to show you what the planning process looks like. So if we've gone through the let's call it a did I miss a page? No, I got it. Okay. So we've dreamt it. We know what we want. We know who it's for. We know how many bedrooms it's going to be, and we kind of know when we would like it. So what's the first thing we want to do? Then we want to start talking about the design part. So the design is broken up, in my mind, in two different ways. It's either a virtual design or an actual design. So the virtual is an initial discovery of what will ultimately become your project scope of work. The actual design will be creating it in a CAD program and creating everything required for obtaining your ADU permit. So let's look at it real carefully. The video consultation call is generally how we do the virtual. We just get on a Google video call and look on Google Earth, kind of look down at your property as the examples shown on the right screen look, and we just kind of play around and look at your options. You may have 4 or 5 different options, so we want to figure out which is the most sensible for you. And then we can even talk a little bit about budget, so we can figure out which one you can afford and which one you can't, and we can work backwards and make sure the foot fits in the shoe. Okay. So once we have determined the project scope of work based on the Google video call, we then want to make sure that we start doing how the actual designing works. And I'm going to turn that over now to Michael, who is going to show you the process and what's required to do the actual designing for the city and the plans and the permit.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Michael. I'm one of the ADU specialists, and I would actually be one of the folks that comes out to visit you and determines if your property is a good candidate for an ADU, how and what we can build. But today I'm going to be showing you the designing and permitting process. All right. So as we go on this journey, we're going to look at what does it take to create a set of permitted plans. We're going to have to do some preliminary research. We'll design it, and we'll do some architectural and some engineering, and then we start the permitting process with the city. The first step, preliminary research, is very critical. As you can see on this map, this is just LA. And if you're in the white or the gray, you're pretty good. Those are LA City and LA County, but there's a lot of those tiny little colorful counties over there. Those ones all have very unique and very different sets of rules to their ADUs that need to be applied. So it's important that we do research before we get started on this ADU. All right. In this research, we're going to check your zoning. Zoning, we're going to look for any easements. We're going to look for special things about your property that might influence how and what you can build. Okay. We're going to take a look at your geological research too. We want to make sure that they're not in a liquefaction or a methane zone, and this is going to come in handy during the permitting phase. All right. We're going to come on site and we're going to create a site plan. We're going to measure up your property, draw up your existing buildings. We're going to note any trees where your utilities come in. And then we're going to take this site plan and bring it into the office. This is the fun part. This is where we get to design your ADU. Now we can do this one of two ways. We can either do a virtual design session where we join you on a Zoom call just like this and design live with you, or my personal favorite, you can see me standing there. We do design sessions live in the office. I highly, highly recommend this. If you have the time, come into the office for the design sessions. It's a wonderful experience. All right, so what we'll be doing is we'll be creating a floor plan. This is a typical floor plan of an ADU, and we'll also be able to show you live renderings, drawings of what this floor plan is going to look like. When you can see this in 3D, it's going to make the process so much easier to feel and get a grasp of what we're building. It'll make sure that you are very comfortable with understanding, okay, where's my windows and doors going to be? What's my roof going to look like? How big is the living room? This process is, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Right. And then we're going to choose some design elements during that time period. We're going to take a look at things like clear story windows or vaulted ceilings. We'll take a look at your floor plan and maybe decide if you're going to have gas or electric utilities in here. We can do things like if this is going to be for a family member that's aging and you might want to have a easy access. If we take a look at that shower over there, you notice that's a curbless shower, nothing to trip on, easy in and easy out. We can design walk-in closets, lots of information there. Okay. After we've done the floor plan, then we're going to create an architectural set. This architectural set of plans looks a little something like this. Quite a few pages here to go into this. This is all the things that the city is going to want to see, right? So that architectural set, about 10, 15 pages long. And then we get to structural engineering. That's structural engineering. That's a huge document. I'm not going to bother you with every page of that. This particular project that we just scrolled through, that has 66 pages of structural engineering will be developed. Oh boy. All right. Next thing we're going to develop is your Title 24 plans. This will go over your energy efficiency. Your windows will be, they'll take a look at your windows. They'll take a look at your roofing. We'll make sure that the air conditioning is correct. Your air quality is all included in that. And many cities now are requiring low impact development. This means that they're going to want to capture the rainwater runoff off the roof and stick that into a planter or a rain barrel so you can irrigate your property with it at a later time. Right. And there may be some very interesting additional surveys that need to happen on special property types, right? Sometimes I need soils reports or methane testing. For instance, if your property is built on a hillside, we're going to have to test that soil to make sure that it's going to be able to properly hold the weight of the ADU without sliding down the hill. Methane testing is another one that pops up in a few pockets in LA. We'll be looking into this and researching it. And if it's determined that you need one of these surveys, we can do that for you as well. Now that we've got everything collected, we're ready to submit these plans to the city. And once we submit them to the city, we'll look at about 6 months, 7 months is pretty typical. There are some cities that are quite a bit faster, and there's some cities that kind of slow. So I'm sure that you all have this question: how long is it going to take to do my ADU? And the best answer to that is, let's have a one-on-one call, and we'll be able to talk to you about your specific city and give you proper expectations instead of a global answer for everybody. Right. Next up, we've got plan check. The building and say, as we submit the plans, there's going to be checked at multiple stages, right? First up is plan check, where they're going to look at your parking. The city's going to look at your parking, your lot coverage, your setbacks, and make sure it all complies with the current zoning. Building and safety is going to get their hand at taking a look and making sure that it's structural is properly designed, that the building's not going to fall down. And finally, we've got clearance stages. Clearance stages is when all the smaller departments get their hands on this project. Your fire department, urban forestry, you're going to take a look at the trees. Your sewer, how is that going to connect? We'll connect with all of the smaller independent departments and make sure that that submission is handled as well. Once we've got all these things done, boom, we're permitted and ready to build for you. Back to you, Danny.
All right. So now I am going to share. Now I get to share my screen back, and let's continue. All right. Let me know when it comes back up.
You're up. You're there.
All right. Okay. So we see that there's 4 requirements. There's 4 things that would have to be done. There's 4 sets of plans. And if you want to know what they look like when they're printed out, that's what they look like. You roll them up. They're as big around as a basketball. They weigh a ton, and we go drop them off because that's what they want. And then we wait. And so I need to tell you, it's not us. So when we enter this stage and everybody's happy and high-fiving and everything, and then we get to what I call the worst part of the ADU, which is waiting for paint to dry and dealing with the city, we have to wait our turn. So like Disneyland, we have that long line just to get in. And then once we finally get in, we got to take our place in line to go ride a ride. Well, when we finally get in, we get to go take our place in one of these waiting bins, and every city has one. As a matter of fact, every city has at least 6 to 8 of these offices, and then we get to wait our turn. When we finally get our turn and we get to go ride our ride, here's the ride we get. Every single one of these projects have to go through municipalities, clearances, and sign-offs, and committee approvals, and all this other thing. And some of it requires a committee voting, and if they can't meet, then they have to reschedule, and it causes delay. So I just want everybody to know there's only one negative, and that is the waiting on the city. So the sooner you get in line, the sooner you get in, and the sooner we get our projects and plans done. The thing about it is if you just kind of work backwards and know that you need a certain amount of months, depending upon what your city is, then we just take the appropriate steps, get in line. We know we get through it, and it's no big deal. Find something to occupy your time, and we'll be there soon enough. Again, we've already talked about, how long it takes and so forth. So once you finally have your city, you paid your last city fee, you've got your permit in hand, it's time to go to construction. So we can now check the box on design. So the last thing we need to do is build the dumb thing. So let's see what happens. The first thing we do is we go in and start prepping the property. Now, this is the fun stuff. This is, to me, now that we've had that terrible wait during the city where we don't really have any day-to-day progress. You will when we start the construction, because you'll get to, when the workers get there, they get there early in the morning, and they want to be done by 3 or 3:30. So by the end of the day, when you get home from work, you get to go snoop around out back and see what they're doing. You have daily update and progress reports. So it's kind of fun. As the framing and the foundation starts going up, this is when the personality starts to think, hey, this thing is really going to become an ADU. It's kind of fun. As they start doing more lumber and start putting up walls and the roof choice and so forth, it really starts taking on a real ADU personality. When the insulation goes in, there's only one thing left after that, and that's going to be the drywall and paint. And then we start putting in all the floors and windows and your shower stalls and all the tile and all the countertops and Pullmans and toilets and fixtures and so forth. Finally, we get to the kitchen. And guess what? It's starting to take a shape of an ADU. On the exterior, they're figuring out what the exterior looks like. And we always match it up to the main house. So whatever the main house looks like, we're going to match it exactly like that. So it doesn't look like an afterthought. It looks like they were built at the same time. That's our trademark, and that's our goal. So finally, we get to the stage where you go, hey, I can't believe it. It's done. So completion eventually hits us, so then we can finally check off all those boxes. And boy, you know what? You just built yourself an ADU. So it takes a little time, but I tell you, when you finally go out in your backyard and you look at it and you go, holy cow, look where we started from. Look what we started with the dirt and the nothing. And now we've got a little mini apartment. Life gets really, really good. So that is what we want to show you, how the process, now that we've abbreviated, because tonight what we're going to do is we're going to make time for questions and answers. So we didn't want to take too long like we've done in webinars past, but I do want to bring Meredith on, because the next thing we want to talk about before we open it up to questions is financing. So Meredith, are you with us?
I am. Thanks for having me on, Danny.
You're welcome. Now, we've also got Berto Gonzalez, who's one of our licensed general contractors, and he is going to be fielding construction questions, and we might get some. So at some point, Berto, will have you chime in as well. But Meredith, so let's figure out, I think you have a couple of new announcements. So I'm going to let you just kind of talk about what you want to talk about, and then we'll address the obvious things as how do people finance in a market where the rates are high.
Yeah, so we're still going strong, and the great news is if you were to go buy a house, you'd be buying at $800 to $1,000 per square foot, and ADUs are about a third of the cost, sometimes a little higher, sometimes a little lower, but overwhelmingly inexpensive. I mean, think about it. Where else can you buy a 1 or 2 bedroom ADU that costs $900 a month? I mean, it just doesn't exist in Los Angeles, but building, that's what it works. So two great announcements. First of all, if you don't know already, an owner-occupied home can have up to 3 additional units built onto the property. You got the primary house. You can build a second house called an SB9 unit and 2 ADUs. Sometimes they're zoned different things. Sometimes they look and feel exactly the same, but it's the zoning label. Now, the mortgage guidelines don't always catch up to that. So we got some tricks with some of it. And that's my job, is to figure that out. Now, 2 new pieces of legislation that just passed the assembly. Investors, rental properties may now have also the same number of units, which is very exciting for investors. And 2, while you may have heard of SB9 lot splits, where you can split your lot and sell it off, that really hasn't been very popular. So California is passing another law, like other states, Oregon, Washington, and Texas, allows you to condotize your ADUs. So if you want to, you can build your ADU and then sell it off as a single family home, or treating it as a condo. And a lot of people are using that for retirement income for their families as well. So lots of good stuff. There's usually what we're doing. So my job is to help you figure out your financing strategy, figuring out and optimizing rent. Some people think you need to build, a huge honkin' 3-bedroom, 1,200 square foot ADU to optimize rent. Oftentimes, for the same thing, for the same size, we can build 3 1-bedrooms and get up to $7,500, typically $7,500 in Los Angeles, but your cost would be about $950 per month. So those are the things I take a look at. There's 2 phases to financing, and neither involve necessarily refinancing your primary home. Most people have a great rate on your primary home, so we don't touch that. And it's my job to run estimates and give you examples, and then you choose what your loan is. So we typically, there's 2 phases, just like there's 2 phases in your ADU, or 3. One is the dream phase, where we're all collaborating on what are the numbers, what does it look like. One of the number 1 questions we're asking, and the contractors are asking, is what are you qualified to build? What are you qualified as loan amount? And you want to build to that pre-approved loan amount. So if we say, okay, I'm qualified for X 100,000, then we're building only to that, and we're customizing it to your budget and what you're comfortable paying. 2, during that phase, we're looking at optimizing rental income in the neighborhood. And if you post one of the things you can post in chat is, if you post your property address, we can tell you a little bit about what you could build on that property and what your rental income might be and your cost is. So you can already start to see your return on investment. So post in chat. And then typically we're using a HELOC to begin with for construction. Why a HELOC on construction? Well, number 1, we're not refinancing your first mortgage. And really our goal during the construction phase is to get you the lowest monthly payment. So looking back at Danny's timeline, when you start designs, typical design costs go up to about $10,000. Nice round number, let's just say 10,000. Sometimes it's a little more or less. But $10,000 at today's high rates is about $80 a month. But Fannie Mae is officially forecasting that rates are going down, and in about 8 months, we'll be back in the 4% level. So that means your monthly payment, this is one of the rare times in my career where I'm saying, no, you want an adjustable rate, because we're starting to see rates go down. So the design phase takes about 3 months, and maybe your payment's gone down from $80 to $70 or $60. Now you're paying for permits. Permits are typically about $5,000, maybe $10,000. Let's say it's another $10,000. So now you've got $60 a month on the first part, 60 plus 60 on the second part. It's $120 a month. We're keeping your monthly payment low. Then when you come to the point of construction, you've got the money ready to go to pay for construction. We prefer a 30-year term, interest only, no prepayment penalties. Why? Because when you're done with construction, rates should be nice and low, and you don't need the line of credit anymore. So we're going to give you a complimentary refinance and fix that into a fixed rate second mortgage with no prepayment penalties. We see, given the rental income on the ADUs, people can typically pay off their ADU in 5 to 8 years, and then it's just pure cash flow, or however you want to choose it. You can stretch it out to 30 years, but it's a nice low rate. So on a to give you some nice round numbers, ultimately $100,000 is going to cost you about $450 per month. And conversely, move the decimal point, $10,000 is going to cost you $45 per month. So while you're at building the ADU, this is a great time to be strategic about your property. Do you need a 50-year roof, right? Especially if you're going into retirement, the last thing you want to do at age 90 is repair your roof and spend a bunch of money. Do you have other deferred maintenance? Do you want a pool, right? And the guys will tell you, well, you know, this is solar is going to cost you $10,000. Okay, that's $45 a month. So you get some nice round numbers, and you start to see how really inexpensive ADUs are. Now, I work with more than 300 contractors across the state. I don't give referral fees, and I don't get referral fees. Our bank is on the hook for your product, for your house, and so we absolutely have to make sure that you have competent contractors. So I'm really proud to be here with ADU Resource Center. Been working with them for about 5 years now, and I think you'll be very happy. And this is, you know, so this, we've already got them vetted in our contracting system for construction renovation loans. One little point, you do not need to have equity to do these. We specialize in construction renovation loans. So if you've been turned down by other banks and credit unions, it's probably because they don't have the suite of loans that we do to accomplish more creative construction projects.
Can I ask you a quick question while we're on this? So
yeah.
We've had people ask, look, I don't have enough equity, so I probably can't do it. So we want to make sure that they know, well, let's measure twice, cut once. So just because a cookie cutter lender like Wells Fargo or their own credit union says, no, you don't have any equity because the typical ratio is 80% loan to value, meaning that if you if your house is worth X, you can take out up to 80% of it. But if you just bought it recently and you don't have equity, many people think, oh, I can't do it because I have to own my house for a few more years before that's true. And that's just not true, correct?
Correct. I have multiple buyers that are buying right now, and we have renovation construction loans where you can buy a house with 0% down, totally rehab it, add ADUs, and it's all 100% financed on a nice low interest rate, tax deductible mortgage. And we also have a construction HELOC.
All right, next question. We know that during COVID, the feds lowered rates, and that's how we all got this screamer first mortgage that we're all protecting, right? But at some point, I think the feds also encouraged us to spend money, not to bankrupt the country by getting scared and cocooning and hibernating. So we did, and everybody went out and bought a new car and a new truck and a new house and a new RV, and they got all these payments. And the average household is, according to Forbes magazine, the average household is $17,000 in debt and credit card debt. So we have had some customers apply for the HELOC and get turned down because of debt ratio. But if they applied for a closed-end fixed second, which would pay off some of that debt, especially any small car loans, you know, like if they've got a balance on a car loan that's under $10,000, but it's got a screamer monthly payment, let's pay that off and get rid of that. Let's get that payment gone. And that might help them qualify for loans. So there's maybe another vehicle or service you can provide. If they're not maybe a HELOC candidate, maybe they're a different type of product loan that you can recommend.
Absolutely. And that's part of my job, is to help you work on your credit, work on that payment. You know, it's interesting, a $500 a month credit card payment, if you eliminate that, that qualifies you for $100,000 in real estate loans. So just $500 a month. The other tactic we use is adding co-borrowers. Adding co-borrowers is a great way to increase the income to get your family qualified to do it. There's all kinds of tips and tricks.
So listen
We
to
also
this. On that note, I just had this happen. We had a young couple that is going to build an ADU for their aging father, but they had limited credit. He had pristine credit. They had good income. So they had to actually bring dad on the loan, and collectively it got approved. But without working as a team, without working as a team, it might have been a lost cause.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Where there's a will, there's a way. So I'll put my calendar in there. My calendar is wide open. Please book time with me. I am hard to reach by phone because I'm doing strategy session. You want to do your finance strategy session right after you talk with Danny and the team, because we want to figure out collaboratively what's the number. You'll never see us push. You were only ready to do the loan when we're ready. And sometimes that means we wait, and that is just
so fun. Okay, so this is a sensitive question, and because it involves you and your time, you have a customer courtesy calendar where excuse me, they can click on and select their day and their time to talk rather than wait for a call. They know what time, what day it's coming in, and that's when you talk to them. If it turns out that times being what they are, maybe it's not in their interest to lock and load the rate right now. Will you still pre-approve them and then put them in a holding pattern for when better times come in? And I'm going to make a declaration right now on public TV in front of 10 million people. I think that what's going to happen, as we know the election year is coming, I think that the Democrats want to get reelected. I wonder why. But they're going to get blamed on the economy if we don't figure out how to lower interest rates. So I know Biden's going to work on the feds to try to pull a rabbit out of his hat and say, look what I did for you. Now I dropped all these interest rates, reelect me. And so we know that's coming, and the November primaries are coming. So if we look at it in terms of timing, this couldn't work out better because it's June. And if we know it's going to take 7 months to probably get through planning, we've got June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So maybe construction starts in January of 2024. So this time next year, it's going to be done. But we may want to wait and see what happens as we get closer to the November primaries before we lock and load. Yet you can still pre-approve them, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can do that. It's a very valid strategy to get pre-approved now. And if you want to pay cash or use a small loan for, designs and permits, we'll wait and do the loan later. It actually, in some ways, is helpful because then we know precisely how much. Moreover, let's say for those of you who are extra nervous, let's say we get to January and the economy is still not great, or the rates aren't great. That's okay. Permits are renewable. It's okay. So, but start the design process, because honestly, that stuff just takes far longer than putting shovels in the ground.
And I think you'll be here. We know everything is cyclical, so nothing good or bad stays that way forever. Everything will cycle. So if we have the worst possible rates that we've ever had, good Lord, it's only going to cycle and get better. It's not going to get worse. It's going to go down. So let's make good use of that time and do our planning and permitting and get that out of the way, so you can become opportunists when the rates do fall. And I think it's possible it could happen before November. So all we need to do is just see a little movement, and then it could be like an avalanche. Then it's going to be a stampede again. Okay.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you.
All right.
So yeah, you want to get these guys hooked up now, because when it goes back to normal rates, everybody gets mobbed for used, and why contractors are calling you back.
All right. So for the people that have joined us recently and late, be sure and scroll down at the very bottom of the screen and click on that chat box, open up that dialog box and leave it open, because we are going to start posting questions. If you can also see, some of the people in the audience have already started raising their hands. So they're in queue. We're going to enter our question and answer phase right now. So Meredith, stick around. So we're going to have you field some of these questions. Anything that looks like it's up your alley, we'll grab you. And I want to make sure that if you look at the bottom symbols down at the bottom of the Zoom, you'll see something that says reactions. Click on that. It's a little smiley face. and then you'll see a little symbol that says raise a hand. So we want you to raise your hand if you've got questions. This is the very first time we've opened up the mics and let everybody chit chat. So let's make good use of it. Raise your hand and we're going to be sure to try to get every single one of you. But I want you to also type your question in the chat so we can read it before we call on you. So what we're going to do first, go ahead, Meredith. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, and feel free if you guys want to see what can be done on your property, post your, as part of your question, post your address in there. And Vic, if you'll give me a co-host thing, I'll look it up while Danny talks.
Okay. So I think we've got Meredith's. Now I want you to see Meredith's link in there. If you click on that, let me tell you what's going to happen. It's going to open up to a calendar and you get to pick a day and a time. And then you get to chat with her. So you just say, okay, if it's going to be Monday at 9:30, it's going to be Monday at 9:30. You can do whatever you want to do, but at Monday at 9:30, expect the phone ring and you can talk your head off all you want. So let's start by when we registered you guys, some of you guys sent in questions and a lot of questions, as a matter of fact. So I just grabbed some, Michael grabbed some. So I'm going to basically open it up to our panel. So we've got all these crazy looking people in the panelist host up there with an ADU background. They work for us. And so you guys, if you guys hear a question that you want to chime in, feel free to do so. But let's just start going through some of these and see what things, I think these are generic questions that everybody wants to know. First question, how much do we charge per square foot for an ADU? Anybody want to tackle that one? Michael, how about you?
Sure, I'll go with that one. So it's a tricky question because not everywhere has the same price, right? We're primarily based out of LA, but we do expand out to quite a few different territories, and construction pricing does vary. One of the things that we really want to dive into when we figure out how much does your project cost is we're going to look at your property. We're going to listen to you. We're going to listen to your needs and make sure that what we quote you is going to fit what's going to suit your needs. We're going to take a look at some special things about your property, like we're going to watch where the trenching is going to need to lie for sewer connections. We're going to look at other utility connections. We're going to look at your grading and see if it's built on a hillside. All of these components we'll put together and go to a price. So
the scope of work actually kind of determines the pricing, not just a generic formula, because what if they live in a floodplain? What if they live on a slope, right? Or what if they're saying, I want to build it over my garage? All of these things have nothing to do with a formula. They have everything to do with the scope of work. Now, if we're just going to give you a blanket statement, most of the contractors in Southern California work on a formula between $250 and $300 per square foot. But that's only a formula, and that's just a reference point to work with, because the price of your or the scope of work of your project and the size and the amount of things having to do with the character of your property could actually toss that formula right out the window. So what we'd like to do is, I don't want to avoid that question, so I just blurted it out, but it would be irresponsible if we didn't look a little deeper and then measure twice, cut once, and make sure that something regarding your property wouldn't rear its ugly head and say, well, you told me it was going to be only this. Well, that's kind of why we want to do the virtual video call with you first, look down at satellite. Now, I can see some of the stuff, but I can't see everything. So we want to follow it up with an on-site and confirm everything that we think we saw from satellite. But I mean, there's two looks. We did one from 200,000 feet at its satellite, and the second one from two feet. So we'll be able to know exactly what you've got to work with. And we're not avoiding that question. It's like saying, how much is a car? Well, what kind of car? So we just want to get a few more questions on the property, and then we can address that. So, okay. Next question. How do we finance an ADU project if we don't want to refinance our existing first mortgage because of a low rate, Meredith? We just answered this
HELOC.
one.
A
Yes.
home equity line of credit is a second mortgage. You do not have to refinance at all. But all ADUs are part of the real estate. So it is always financed with a first or second mortgage. So a lot of good options out there, but yeah.
Okay. Third question is, how long does a typical ADU project take from start to finish? Who wants to tackle that one? Mike V? You just volunteered.
Good evening. Thank you, Danny. That, of course, also depends on the city you're living in. We have some cities that are extremely efficient and well-staffed, and they can get the permits to us within a 3 to 4 month period. As Danny mentioned earlier today, some of these can also take up to 9 months to a year. So that's the big bottleneck.
San Diego's a little
creating your
longer
ADU.
than LA. LA's maybe our fastest. LA County's not so fast, but San Diego's even worse. So just FYI.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Next question is, why is a second story ADU over my main house more expensive than one that's on the ground? Can't stand it. I already know the answer. Dan, Maxwell, you want to try that one?
I was typing to people in the chat room. Sorry. I'm literally answering the questions that I see in here.
Okay.
What was your question?
Here's the question. The question is every now and then people are startled when we hear the pricing of a second story ADU, not only over the garage, but over the main house. It becomes even more complicated because of the reinforcement requirements below the ADU, right?
Yeah, that's easy. So second story, you're gonna have to double up pretty much all of the 2x4 studs in the property. You're talking more rebar, more concrete, and more engineering that we have to do to be able to actually take the earthquake codes into effect. So 2 stories seems like it shouldn't be that much more. It should just be double, but it's not. It just adds that little bit. It's like somewhere around like 35 to 70,000 more, depending on how big you want to go.
Yeah, we clearly do them, but I think people just need to think about this. If we looked at the least expensive, it would be on the ground. If we looked at the most expensive, it would be on top of a building that was never meant to have another building on it, because we have to reinforce that lower structure. Now, let's just imagine that we have a customer that says, I want to build it over my main house, okay, with an external staircase. So the ADU client lives upstairs. All right, great. Where's it going to be over? It's going to be over my kitchen and living room. All right. So one of the things that we have to do is we have to reinforce that lower floor so it can support the weight of that new coming second story, because it wasn't built to have that. There has to be footings put down below. All the drywall and insulation has to be ripped off. Yes, you heard me right. It's got to be ripped off, and we have to insert 4x4s to handle the strength, and then put the insulation and so forth back up, all of which basically deems your kitchen unusable for the length of the construction. It's a terrible, terrible thing. And I would never recommend somebody do an ADU over the main house, because it's going to wipe out the room below it and render it unusable. So I would always try my best to talk you into using land first. Unless we ran out, we have nowhere to go but up. If the house is vacant, it's a different story. So if it's a rental property and there's nothing there, or it's vacant, then it's a song. But if there are people living in it, especially paying tenants, I wouldn't do that to them. And if it's your primary home, I'd never want to do that to you. So that's just an FYI. But we do them. I would, like I said, if there's no land available and that's the only direction to go is up, we go up. Okay. Is an ADU over my garage legal in my city? Mike V, what do you think?
That varies depending on each city, Danny.
Some ordinances will do it. I think one of the things that we can do is, while we're on that Google video call, let's zoom out and let's snoop in your neighborhood. If we see evidence that there's some 2-story action going on, we could figure that out in about 10 seconds. So we can spy on your neighbors. And if we see that there's about 5 or 6 ADUs or second story additions on top, pretty likely that they're going to say yes to you. So that's a pretty good indication of and why we could use a video call. But it does vary from city to city. Yeah, Mike.
And I would also add in there 2 of the biggest areas in LA City and LA County. If you're in one of those 2 projects, unincorporated county and LA City, both of those are areas that you can do a ADU on top of the garage.
Okay. Mike C, are ADUs allowed if I have an HOA?
Yes, HOAs cannot deny an ADU, but what they can do is put limitations on the type of materials that you'll have on the exterior of your building. They might say, oh, we want to match and make sure that all the roofs match throughout our community. But can they say no to an ADU? They can't. They're stuck saying, yes, you have to do it. I've got a couple projects where we've been able to put a little pressure on those HOAs that didn't want ADUs, but they cannot say no.
Good. Is there a height restriction for how tall an ADU can be? If we decide I do want to go second story, let's say we're doing it over a garage, is there a height restriction? Mike C.
Oh, yeah. So that has recently changed. So right now, the state law says everybody gets a minimum of 16 feet, and then it can go up to 18 if we're matching the existing height of a pitch or a roof on the main house. Now, there are some cities that do allow you to go beyond what the state allows, and you might find that you're allowed to have 2 stories in these areas. One of the biggest ones, Los Angeles City, that's an easy one. Los Angeles Unincorporated County, that's an easy one. Those will allow 2 stories, and quite a few of the other independent cities in LA do, but some of them don't. You're going to have to join a one-on-one call with us.
Right.
If you're not in one of those, please talk to us. We'll gladly give you specific information to your zoning.
Yeah, and we're up on a lot of the Senate bills and all the legislation. That's our job. So SB 897 or Senate Bill 897 raised the height restriction from 16 feet to 18 feet in LA and up to 25 feet if the ADU is going to be attached. So there are some loopholes. Okay, are ADUs allowed in my front house, Daniel Maxwell, if I have no room in back?
Yes, they are under SB 9. It allows for 800 square foot ADU into the front. Well, that actually changes depending on what city you're in. Glendale reads it as it's capped at 800 square feet. Other cities say it's capped at 12. So it just depends on where you live.
Right,
But
I
it's
think,
possible.
what did I do? I just did something here. Okay,
One of the cool new pieces of legislation that passed last year from the state says that cities can no longer mandate these big front yards. The maximum front setback for any city is limited to 15 feet. And that gives you some real good space sometimes in the front when you've got these massive backyards.
Meredith, are you absolutely positive about that? Because I thought it was 25.
No, it was 15. I've double checked on one of my own projects as well.
Okay, okay.
I want to add something to that too. You don't just get a blanket, I can put the ADU in the front of the house. A lot of
Right.
the cities that we've talked to, they say, if you can, it must go in the back first. And then if it cannot be in the back, if it does not fit, it cannot be placed, then we're looking at the front.
Well, we had a project that before this legislation, there was no backyard. It was a Pasadena property, and it was the only house on the street that had this deep front yard, and the house was set way back, and there was nothing back there. So clearly, they said, we want to put it up front. Well, before the legislation passed, the city said no. But ironically, just about the time we gave up, this bill passed, and it says, you're not going to believe it. Now you can do it. So now we've got the project. We're in the middle of construction right now. So it pays to stay up on the laws. And this is why you want to work with a company that knows the legislation laws. And it's part of our service to keep up on these sort of things. So that's good. Next question. Can you explain lot splitting and SB 9 for beginners in terms that we can understand to decide, is it right for us, or is it even necessary to do an SB 9 lot split? Meredith, I'm going to let you tackle that.
Yeah, generally speaking, because the laws generally allow for 4 total units on a single family zone property, you then don't bother to go through the lot split. The only time you would do a lot split is if you want to do more units, or if you want to sell off that back property. But generally speaking, most people aren't doing lot splits. And the new condotization thing actually may make more sense for all of these as well.
And actually, with the SB 9, if you have an R3 lot, you can go up. It's the acreage formula that they do, and however much space you have, they'll give you the number of units. We just had one that was the city told us 7 units on the lot. So.
I have a contracting question here. Berta, are you still there?
Yes, hi, Danny, I'm here.
Hi, buddy. Okay, so everybody say hi to Berto, a licensed general contractor. Hey, so we have a question that a customer wants to know about finishes. So they want to know when they sign up for us, what are we going to get? How do we know what we're going to get? And I think that that's kind of a personal conversation between the contractor and the client. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, Danny, I do agree. I was recently working with one of Mike V's customers, Huntington Beach, and I have in the back of my car the sample flooring, cabinetry, countertop material, hardware for the cabinetry. And it's kind of fun to work with the customer to have them mix and match the different pieces, and they can just sort of design it on the fly. And we have, the design piece sort of figured out. So yeah, we can definitely do that. It's an easy 5 or 10 minute conversation. And often we leave the materials with the customer. So if, mom and dad want to check it with the kids, they're free to do that.
We've asked in the past for clients to maintain a Pinterest folder. So I say, so get a little file, put it on your desktop, and let's call it ADU. And in that file, have 4 folders: kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, living room. And when you see stuff that you really like, even if you're not sure that that's what you want, just say, hey, this is neat. Can I do something like this? If we take a look at that folder, I think we can get a pretty good read on what their hopeful expectations are, can't we?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Sorry, Meredith. So I do think so. Pinterest is a great resource. I think House is also a great resource. As a contractor, we like to say that we build great homes for families. And that comes down to, customization, and make sure that you can be proud to live in it, and your family members, neighbors, and friends come around, they're going to love it, as well.
But if
Meredith?
you haven't decided yet, I usually see contracts that will say with ranges, price ranges. So flooring will be, we're going to need 1,000 square feet of flooring in a price range between $1.99 per square foot to $3.99 per square foot, and no higher. So at least you know what your price range is.
Or it would be allowance. That's how much is
Yeah.
included. But if you want to go and choose your own product and say, I want this $6 a square foot flooring, you're more than welcome to. You'll just need to pay the difference.
Berto, as a rule, every project gets broken down to a budget. So every room has a budget, and every component in the room gets an allowance, right? So if a customer needs to go out and do some shopping, and I think this is the fun stuff, I think women dig this more than the guys do. They get to go out to Lowe's and Home Depot and whatever other building supply stores, and they get to window shop and start seeing how they're going to piece together. I mean, that's the fun part of building a house, is you get to literally piece it together. But we will provide them with a shopping budget so that they know, oh, this flooring, it's in my budget, or no, this flooring is a little bit over my budget. I think it's okay to let people know you can go over your budget. We won't, but it's okay for you to go over if you find something you love. Get it, right?
Absolutely.
Well, for sure, Danny, that's a great point. And as a contractor, having been in the business for a while, we have a lot of wholesale opportunities for customer to stretch that dollar a little bit. We try to do that as much as we can. So for sure, Lowe's, Home Depot are great resources, and we have other wholesale places where we can purchase quality products.
We have a lot of questions. Some of them may be finance related, some of them are construction, but I'm not sure where to start. So what we're going to do, make sure if you have a question, raise your hand, hit the little reaction thing down at the bottom so we see your hand raised, and do type in your question in the chat, and we'll get started. So Vic, I'm going to let you be the moderator on who we unmute first.
I think we should probably do it in order of the chat
I'm going
box.
in order, so is that Meredith?
What's that?
Who is it?
Go,
Meredith
the first one.
First in line.
And she raised her hand, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering
Yep.
if we should, and we can knock out the people that raised their hands first, but it looks like a lot of people typed questions without raising their hand. We might have to follow the chat
We've been
box
answering,
list.
I've been answering them
Yeah.
as
Gotta
we've been going
follow the
through. Nope.
rules.
Meredith,
everybody.
Meredith and me have been
People,
answering them.
follow the rules. All right, so let's go
And
by.
Nancy's
I've-
unmuted. She can ask a question.
All right, so now, did we get
Double
Mary's
task?
question first? So let's just unmute them as whoever's got their hand raised, let's start with them.
I'm unmuted. Should I begin?
Nancy, guess what?
Yes.
You're first. Go right ahead.
All right. My question was already answered though. I typed it in the chat about is it cheaper to convert an attached ADU, an attached garage to an ADU, but apparently it's not much cheaper than
Well,
going to just build it.
I will tell you this, there is a really cool thing about I'm a big fan of attached, and I'll tell you why. Because I can build more square footage with an attached than a detached because I don't have a building setback of 10 feet. So if I'm 1 inch away from the main house, I have to be 10 feet away. And that gobbles up all the space that I could be using to build a bigger ADU. So if I touch, now they don't have to go through, they just have to share a common wall. But if they touch, then guess what? There is no 10-foot setback. So I can get a much larger ADU in that property than rather than a detached. So there is huge benefits for attached, huge.
Also, I forgot when I was typing that out, you will save on the need for solar panels because it will be attached. So you will
Ooh,
save there as well.
Check out the big
And
brain
if
on
the
Dan.
property and if the property already has solar, then it really doesn't.
Doesn't
Right? It
matter.
won't
It's a
matter.
moot
Okay.
point. You know, the thing about it is that let's not get scared off. We all know that if you're going to build a detached ADU, you're going to be required to put on solar. Now, is that the worst thing possible? Look, we're all going to have solar eventually. Are electric cars here to stay? I think they are. So at some point, we're all going to own an electric car. I don't know when that'll be, but we'll all be driving one. We're all going to have solar too. So let's not run scared. Build what you want to build and don't look back. Yeah, Mike.
I want to add on to that too. So if we're going to do an attached unit, it's really critical that we take a look at what's going on inside the house on that wall that we're going to attach to. We have to make sure that if we're going to connect it to like a bedroom, that bedroom still retains a window for egress. You got to be able to jump out in case of a fire. So this is something that is not a blanket answer. I'm going to encourage you to get into a one-on-one conversation with one of the ADU specialists afterwards. And we will take a look at your specific property and give you detailed advice.
Okay. Can I ask one more question too?
Of course.
Because now that I realize you can build multiple ADUs too, I put my address in there, but I do know that I did ask zoning already. They did say yes, so I can add it. And I asked for like a whole new, ADU in the backyard, so that could count as 2 ADUs. Then I could still build a whole separate one plus the garage one.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can build your garage as a junior ADU, and then you can build a detached or attached ADU. You can have both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Special
This
rules
is
apply.
Nancy's property here.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have someone by the name SHL.
SHL. Did you unmute them?
They have the option to unmute.
Okay. Whose property is being shared up there?
And we're gonna get
This is
to the-
Ricardo's.
It's
This is
who's?
Ricardo's. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I'm SHL. Is
Hello.
that who you're addressing?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, okay, so I'm in LA County. I have an illegal ADU that came to fruition in 2008. I have approved plans and everything's been paid, but my permit expired in June, I believe, of last year. And I'm still working full time. I haven't not had the time to devote to it and everything that it entails. So anyways, my understanding from this health and safety code 17958.12 deals with structures built before 2018 that can somewhat be streamlined and be legalized per the building code for the time when the building came into fruition? I guess it would be 2006, 7, 8, I guess, when they were building it. Are you familiar at all with?
Well, no, there's a blanket bill that passed across that makes it even easier. So SB 897 allows us to figure out what to do with unpermitted work, and you don't have to be scrutinized as hard as you used to. So maybe what we should do with you is let's take a look at the condition of maybe we can see a little bit from a Google video call, but certainly over the telephone, we can figure that out. But there's some new legislation that just streamlined that process for you. So it's not going to be as big a deal as you think.
Okay,
And older
my,
permits
my,
were,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry, what?
I would say older permits that have been expired for a period of time. There was a time range when the county was extending permits automatically. And most likely
Yeah.
yours did get that automatic extension, and we might be able to work around your timeline. And if it's not, there's other solutions. Don't worry about that.
Okay, and then really quick question, probably geared towards Daniel Maxwell.
Yeah.
Okay, so the structure that was built on to the garage was it's structurally sound and everything, but it was built on and it copied, and it was built with the 2x4s, you know, for the original garage. And so in the plans, they want 2x6s. And so I'm thinking, okay, put the 2x6s right next to the 2x4s, you know, to just to reinforce it.
Yep.
Instead of tearing the whole thing down. But what do you think, just guessing, okay, I'm not holding anybody to anything. What do you think building and safety will say about that? Are they the nicer, gentler building and safety?
They're not going to have a problem. Mainly with the 2x4, which we're going to 2x6s, we're going to have to adjust the wall thickness. But that's pretty much the only thing you're going to have. They don't mind if we sister in 2x6s because all we're doing is actually beefing it up
And
more
that's the
than.
term. It's called sistering. So what they do is
Yeah.
they put them adjacent to each other. Berto, that's
Yep.
correct, correct?
Well, that's correct. So can I ask a question? Were there any inspections under the prior permits before they expired?
Well, no, there were no inspections.
So I think there's a lot of specifics and details to getting that legalized and permitted. The cities will work with us. So the key is to really understand what the existing condition is, take a look at those permits and ask for a pre-inspection or possibly going to the counter first. So it's a process and we can help you with that.
Okay, so you know what? There may have been somebody that came out originally. I had an architect and everything, the sewer, all the permits everything has been approved. The plans, everything, all the fees have been paid. It was a green light, you know, go for it. I have just been incredibly busy and I just don't have the time. Like I want to be here. I want to talk to people. And I've just been so busy. I haven't had the time to devote to it. But it has been approved. I don't know if
I heard a condition with another client that went through the similar thing. Their permits expired or their opportunity expired. So under renewal, they paid a renewal fee and they didn't have to change or alter if the conditions of the approval of the approved plans and permit stated that they can do X. They didn't have to do Y and Z if they were renewed. Now, if they started all over, they might. But since the old plans were sort of grandfathered in under an existing approval, we may be able to fly under the radar with that.
Okay. All right. So then
Yeah.
would I just make an appointment for somebody to come see it then?
Let's
Yeah,
let's
I'll
hop on a
put a
call
link
to
in-
start with, and let's see if there's anything that you can share with us to do a little detective work. We have a relationship with every county or in Southern California. You know, we've got over 350 projects in various stages of planning, permitting, construction. So I wouldn't say that we're drinking buddies with, or we play golf with the people downtown, but we know who likes scotch and who likes chocolate. So we know that we know how to get things done, you know.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. All right. So then I'll make an appointment with you guys and then I guess somebody will come out and we'll handle it and
Sure,
I'll
happy
get a
to.
chance to talk to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
happy to.
Thank
happy
you.
to. Thank you.
Next one we have is Dina.
Is it Dina or Dinah?
Dinah.
Could be either.
It's Dina.
Hi, Dina.
Why
We had to-
everyone wants to go to Dina?
We had
It's
to tease
Dina.
you. We had to tease you.
There's
It's a
no
live
H.
show, you know.
Okay, so I just moved back to Los Angeles from Atlanta,
Welcome
and
back.
I don't know about that, but um, I'm living with my mom because she got ill. So I've been here since February, and I had to relocate here. So that's fine. But I just sold my condo, and I'm used to having my own home. So I wanted to utilize the backyard to do an ADU. We have a garage, but she's a hoarder, so we have it stacked to the brim.
Mhm.
But my question is, can I get my own financing to do an ADU, or will I have to, or will she have to be involved as far as getting the HELOC? Because she just got a loan a few years ago.
Yeah, I think there's a legal issue. Meredith, you tackle that one.
Yeah, so with families like that, because it's still a ADU loans are through real estate, so we've got to do some type of real estate loans. But with my families, usually what we do is we title it as tenants in common. So there's two ways to approach this, especially now that we can condotize it. But you can go on title with your mom, and with tenants in common, usually titles are owned in community property in California. But if you have siblings, sometimes siblings get upset about that. Oh, so-and-so is taking over the house. So we title it as tenants in common so that mom still owns all of the land and the house, and you own the ADU. And that allows us to do a second mortgage, which you then are on that loan for and can do all by yourself without affecting mom. And when mom passes away, she can bequeath her house and land equally among the siblings.
Okay. I guess I'm gonna have to probably talk to you one-on-one because she has the home currently in trust.
We can do that.
Okay.
I'm going to post a video I have in the chat room, and you can, it talks about tenants in common.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
No problem.
Next we have Nancy, and that might be our last question.
Well, there's
think
more.
there's a ton of
There's a
people
ton
in
in
the
the
chat
chat. That was. I'm only going by the.
I think
that
some
raised
people
their
might
hand.
be a little shy.
That's
They don't
okay.
want to,
That's okay.
they don't want to
Yeah.
speak.
The chat.
We've been
is
answering
packed
them
with
though in the chat as it's going.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, we
properties
probably
in the
want to
chat,
bring them
too.
up because, if it's one question that somebody asked, there's probably other people that are interested in that answer too. So
All right.
exactly.
Who was the? Did we lose somebody that had their hand raised?
Are you looking for Nancy?
Yeah.
Yes, hi Nancy.
Yes, I have a quick question. I'm in Bellflower, LA County. I'm going to build an ADU attached, only 748 square feet. It's on flat land on my corner lot, no easements. About approximately how much per square foot am I looking at?
So let me just repeat this back to you. So it's a relatively flat property, correct?
Yes.
There's no slope that we know of.
None at all.
Do you have plenty of land in the back of the house?
Yes, I've already started with plans so far, but I want to know what the building costs, about approximately the cost.
Well, I'm going to give you the right
Per
answer.
square foot.
I'm going to give you the straight upward answer. So there's a condition that we do with our clients that are going through the planning and permit with us. We look at the plan, the pricing, the budget 3 times. So when we begin, we're talking about a conceptual idea. So we're going to give you what we think is a forecast. This way you can say, look, am I barking up too big a tree? So can you give me an idea of what I'm going to be looking at? Once we discover the scope of work and we give them a price associated with that, and it's generally going to be using the formula between $250 and $300 per square foot. We can pretty much figure out by the square footage what sort of range we're going to be in, right? As long as we didn't scare you off yet. If we did scare you off, it's time to maybe shrink the project by square footage a little bit, right? But after you are done with your design, so once you have your design concept and you kind of know what your engineering looks like, we should probably look at the budget one more time, because typically when people go into a design phase, they grow the project, as you should. We want you to grow it. So I think what will happen is once you grow your project, let's look at the budget, see if it still lines up with the original forecast. Then, once you're finally with all your finished with all your corrections and revisions, there's a condition that's going to be called RTI, or ready to issue. That means you're pretty close to being through the tunnel. We should be looking at the budget one more time, because we need to look at world news. Is there anything affecting your project? Are we at war with China? Are we at war with Russia? Did aliens invade the Americas, and then all of a sudden we don't know what's affecting the supply chain or inflation? So it'd be irresponsible not to review it at least 3 times. So I would say that use the formulas that we're talking about to get a gauge on the range. If you want to be more specific on what it's really going to cost, any contractor is going to want finished or revised plans. They can't have a guessing game. So if you have initial plans that are started, those aren't the ones they're going to be giving you the quote from. It's going to be the ones that have already came back from the city, said you do these things and you should be good to go. Then they're resubmitted. That new set of plans is the only one that a contractor can use. And they can pretty much gauge where you're going to be. But it's with the responsibility that you need to time that bid. Berto, you're going to have to back me on this. You're going to want to time that bid as close to completion as possible, because building materials are volatile. Our supply chain, some of them during COVID would only hold pricing for 3 days. And that means that if lumber was volatile like it was, you remember when lumber was really expensive, we couldn't lock in building materials for more than 90 days, or I'm sorry, 3 days, because they would change the price on us, and therefore it changed on you. So it's pointless to get a contracting bid 7 months down the road. It's going to be subject to change.
She may want to have, do you have your lending already worked out? Or
Yes, I had already did a year ago, brought out when the interest rates were low. I pulled out, I guess it's a HELOC, a loan on the house, so I could have the money ready to build. It's for my elderly parents, but in the last year, my father passed away, so now it's just for my mom. So things have just kind of changed around, but I'm still going to build it because I need to get her here. She's 89.
Nancy, you see that handsome devil looking at you named Herberto Gonzalez. When you get close to getting your plans, if you have any idea how far out you are from RTI, we're happy to supply. Our network. We have 10 architects on staff and 25 licensed general contractors, Embark being one of them. And we're more than capable of giving you multiple bids when it's ready, when it gets closer.
Nancy, if I may comment,
yes,
my gut feeling is that an all-in construction cost when finance is going to be about $900 a month. Now, remember, you can get in-home support services when you care for elderly parents. It's cheaper for the state to pay you, IHSS, than it is to house an elderly person in a nursing home. When you go, what I'm showing here on my screen, these are studio ADU rents. So if mom passes and you decide to rent, now this is just for a studio and it's a house, not an apartment. You're looking at $2,000 a month easily. If you're looking at a 1-bedroom, you're also as high as $2,300, $2,500, but you're only paying $900 a month. That's what it sounds like to me. And God forbid anybody think I'm a contractor, but I see those bids all day long.
And one quick question: what's better, to have the home built above ground with a crawl space or with a slab cement? The primary is with a crawl space.
With a crawl space. Nancy, it just depends on your lot. Bellflower is a pretty flat community, so you could build it slab. So Nancy, you took out the loan a year ago. Did you start the permit process a year ago?
No, not yet.
I see.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Have you submitted to the city of Bellflower, or are you in our design phase still?
No, we've submitted and we're at the very beginning. They're barely, we had just submitted with the Title 24 and what was the other thing? Oh, soil sample, soil.
But you did submit,
Well.
so you submitted your packet or your bundle to the city?
I believe that's what he did. I didn't do it myself. I asked somebody to do it. A friend of mine is helping me with this. So, but I still had questions about, where the cost is now, because I know about the lumber and the for supplies and material.
What
Well,
I'm thinking is
Nancy-
because you already have your loan worked out, you can hold off a little bit until closer to construction to lock in that, to get a good idea of how much your construction pricing is going to be.
Yeah, because it sounded like she just
She already
entered
has
plan
her loan.
check.
She
She's-
doesn't.
Yeah, you're just entering plan check. So you are at the very beginning of the ride. We've got a little ways to go. So there's no rush to go out and get a construction bid, because what we're going to wait to do is when you get to plan check, remember that holding bin where all the files were kept nice, safe and sound.
Yes.
And then once we get our turn, they got to go through all those stages of municipalities and committees and so forth. So you've got several months ahead. So, and when they finally come back with the revisions and say, okay, like what you're doing, zig instead of zag, change this over here and you should be good to go. It's that second set of revisions. Those are the plans that we would want to see, because that's the recipe and we know what to bake, what kind of cake we're going to bake once we have that.
Okay. And how about your knowledge on solar panels?
Oh, don't even get me started.
I was, I'm kind of leaning towards upgrading my patio covering. And I was thinking, why don't I just put the solar panels on a new patio covering rather than my roof?
Yeah, I think that, are you working with an existing solar company? We work with Tesla, we work with Sunrun, and our favorite is Power Solar. And if you have a consultant, I always say that rather than ask us, we should probably let the experts help you with that. And the discussion is free. If you need an introduction, we're happy to introduce you to somebody that can help you with that question.
They're going to look at a lot of
Yes.
details. They're going to want to make sure that it can hold the load. They're going to want to make sure that it's aimed directly at the sun or in an optimal direction. And they might want to take a look at the angle, because some of those patio coverings might be really flat, and that's not the best angle for solar panels.
I want a new one. I'm going to build a new one.
Oh, you're going to build a new one.
I'm
Okay.
going to tear this one down and I want to build one so that I can get it a little higher, even with my roof. And like you said, if it has to be tilted, in an angle a little, which I doubt, because my house I don't have any trees around me.
Nancy, if you will scroll to the top somewhere on that chat list, you'll see an email for me. If you'll send me an email, I'll send you an introduction to somebody that can help you with the consultation. It's free, but you need to talk to a solar expert, so they're better than we are.
Okay, that's perfect. I'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, let's go back up to the very top and see what questions are in here. I know that you guys have been answering some of these, so let's see what's.
I'm going to add one, and because I reached out to a few of you guys and asked you before the show if you had any questions, and I want to field a couple of them that they had. First off, this one is one from Meredith. This client asks, what happens if my wife is in Chapter 13 bankruptcy and they're both the homeowner? Are they able to qualify for an ADU project?
So usually the husband could. Usually with Fannie Mae and other traditional loans, there is a 2 to 3 year waiting period after the discharge. But I do have some other loans that are 1 day out of bankruptcy. So there's some pretty cool options out there.
Very good. Exciting.
You got more?
I do, but some of those were already answered in our previous question, so that's good.
I see FS asked, can you provide an average cost for a 500 square foot ADU in Pasadena? I think we kind of went over the formula on that. So FS, if you want to send me an email and give me your address, I can be a little bit more specific. I'd kind of like to look at the backyard and see what you're working with. Are you doing a garage ADU with a 500 square foot garage? Are you doing an attached or detached? Because it might change the pricing a little bit. I do want to forewarn you, there's a couple of cities that are trying to police density, we'll be kind, and they're trying to keep the city beautiful, and they don't want overcrowded, they don't want parking, they don't want people. So because the Affordable Housing Act is supportive of ADUs, they can't say you can't build an ADU because we can. But what they can do is make your life a little bit miserable by being a little bit slow, and they can charge you some high fees in order to weed out the riffraff, and only the most serious and dedicated people will build. Pasadena, Glendale, Gardena, Sierra Madre, and Altadena are the culprits. So if you're in those cities, just know that your fees are a little bit higher than normal because they're trying to keep your city beautiful. And they're trying to keep all of us riffraffy ADU contractors from coming in there and building all a bunch of ADUs and ruining the neighborhood. So that's what that's all about.
Well, you have a hand raised for Dennis if you want to.
Hi, Dennis.
Yeah, I'll ask him if he wants to unmute. Oh, there you go.
It's actually his wife. I have a quick question.
Hi, Dennis's wife.
Danielle.
We got a HELOC through our credit union about a month ago, a little over a month ago, and they limited us to only 250. We didn't shop around because I wanted to get the max because we're at just under 100,000 we owe on the house. So our equity, we have quite a bit of equity, and we could have probably easily got 5. Since it didn't cost us anything for that HELOC, and I want more cushion, this is a question for Meredith. Can we dissolve that HELOC we have and then start a new one with Meredith and get way more than what we have? Or
Absolutely. Absolutely, we can. Or if you've spent some money on it, we can basically refinance it into a larger HELOCs. Our HELOCs go as large as 750,000. Not that you'll need that, but because that's a ridiculous amount for just one ADU. But yeah, we definitely can help you with that.
And what's because we got the interest rate at 8%. Has it come down from 8%?
No, it hasn't. It's just we're all waiting for the Fed to make their announcement on interestingly, my home equity loans. So this is a fixed rate second mortgage. They have negative margins. And that tells you that they're all expecting rates to go back down. So they're at like 6%.
I have a comment on this. We have clients that are just starting out, they can more than wait, but we have other clients that their project is RTI. They got to shake, rattle, and roll. So I think you and I spoke about this. If they have to bite the bullet and sign up for a loan when the rates aren't as low as they could be, they should go into it looking at it short term, because we're going to refinance that bad loan, aren't we? But there's no point of putting off the project or construction. Get it built,
right?
Particularly if it's going to create cash flow. Get a renter in there, get him to start paying for this thing. But at some point in time, the sun will shine and the rainbow will come out. We'll have good rates, and then we're going to want to reload that loan and put it into a better loan. So I don't want anybody to get scared if you're at RTI and you have to do your construction. Go ahead and do it with the understanding that it's a short-term deal and we're going to get greater later and reload.
Danny's absolutely right. And my strategy for you would be go ahead and use the HELOC for the design and permit phase. Rates are going to be coming down during that time frame. And at that point, you'll have a better budget estimate to see what you really need. And if you need to refinance it, great, I got you covered.
So we would have to totally, when you say refinance, are we refinance the current HELOC, or we go with you and do a whole new one? We do
refinance the current HELOC into a larger one if you need it, but let's see if you need it.
Oh, okay. So we're with our credit union. You just take us off of it, and you take
Yeah.
over? the loan? Is that how that works?
Yep, we take it over and give you a bigger line of credit. So, you shouldn't stop. Go ahead and start now on your designs and permits with your existing HELOC. Don't worry about it. And then when rates are down, it'll be refinancing you to a lower rate anyway.
Perfect.
So you're in perfect shape.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Vic, we got a ton of questions in here. I don't know who to start with.
Ricardo posted after some of those. I've got Ricardo's property in Montebello up right now. He's wondering what could we do on that property. I'm going to bring it up. So this is Ricardo's property. He's got this great garage here and a huge backyard. What could he build potentially?
Can you click it over to Street View?
Street view? Yeah.
Or not Street View, yeah, where you can see that. Just like to see what his backyard looks like. Yeah, the layer.
It's not, I don't think it's Google Earth. It's just, I think it's Google Maps.
You can
Right? Oh,
still
it is
see it.
Google Earth.
Still
Oh, it
see
is.
good.
Okay. Yeah, let's have a look down. Let's see.
Oh, he's got a
He's
pool.
got a pool.
Oh, buzzkill. No, I'm teasing. I'm
No,
teasing.
we can
I'm
still get
teasing.
around that.
All right, now listen. This is a perfect example of attached. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So let's say that he's got an opportunity to build above the garage, which we know he does. You can convert the garage into an ADU. That's option number one. Above the garage, that's option number two. Or attached, we got to stay 5 feet away from that coping on the pool and you're good to go. So you got 3 different options.
So if he built all three, and let's take a look at rental income. So my gut feeling is that build would cost about, I'd say $1,600 a month. Now I'm going to show everybody how you want to look up rent on local neighborhood ADUs. You find your house on Zillow. You look at rent and you do the specifics. You filter out apartments, right? ADUs rent for much more. So look at these 1 bedrooms. I'm going to remove the boundary. So this thing is going to cost $1,500 a month. Look at this. An ADU right smack in Montebello is $2,600 per month. So so that would be $7,200 per month in gross rental income, and the cost would be $1,600.
Nice.
Is
Was he here to hear any of this? Did he log off? Did he log off already?
That's why I was trying to answer the chat messages, because just in case they leave, I want to be able to answer.
All right. Jesse's got his hand up. Let's see what we still got one listener out there. There's one audience member still here. Hi, Jesse.
Am I unmuted now?
You're on
You
mute.
are.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, but you're sideways. I don't know. I'm getting a headache.
Okay.
looking at you.
It's like that.
All right, there we go.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. I got a house near LAX. The house is only 900 square feet, but my property is 6,000. Okay. Beside me is a 8-door apartment.
Oh,
The property is R2 or R3.
Okay.
So now I wanted to do an ADU because I got a big lot.
Yep.
I'm even thinking, because beside me, the apartment there is 2-story. Can I do a 2-story? What I have, the property is around 650. I only owe 175, but I have a 100K, like a second mortgage or something.
Okay.
Okay.
So first off, your zoning is right. It's multifamily, so you get to build a couple of units back there if you like. And if you build a 2-story, don't forget, you might get a plane, knock that thing right off the house if it comes in for a landing, right? But yes, you can build 2 stories out there. I'm teasing you.
If
So
you're in R3 also, you can R3, you can do it under SB9, and you'll be able to do, they'll take the square footage of your lot, put it to a calculator the city has, and they'll tell you how many units you could add as well. ADUs, you'll be stuck at 2. SB9, you can get probably around 7, depending on how big
SB9.
your lot is. Yeah, under the SB9 law, and we can do that for you.
Okay. So how do we do this? I got other houses. I only rented the house and I do Airbnb. So I have 40 to 50K bank statements. My FICO's bad, 550. So can you work on something where I can get funding and I can build the
Yes,
the
Meredith,
two-story?
Meredith, do you have any stated income programs right now or no
I
doc?
definitely have stated income
Okay.
programs, and we can work on all.
Yes.
Where there's a will, there's a way, my friend. We'll do it.
Yes. Yes.
Jesse,
I
why
said,
don't
yeah,
you,
because-
Jesse, why don't you click on Meredith's link, right? Click on it. And then
How do I
make an
do that?
appointment to
Oh.
talk privately to her about your loan, because I think there's a way that you can work this out. And then if you want to copy us at info@aduresourcecenter.com, or my name is posted up there, Danny@aduresourcecenter.com. Let's do a video call and look down at your property, and then we can tell you how many units and what they look like, and maybe even show you some floor plans.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So what number do I call?
Well, if you, Meredith, why
I
don't
just sent you a direct message.
why don't you post your link one more time so that he can see it. Jesse, start with Meredith, and then she'll
Okay.
refer you over to us at when you guys figure out what you're doing there. And then Meredith, just tell us what the budget is, and we'll work backwards from there.
You got it?
Anyway, yeah.
Okay. Meredith, can I get your phone number there or something?
If you look in the chat, if you look in chat, I have a calendar. You can also email me at meredith.stowers@ccm.com.
Yeah.
Wait.
Jesse,
Where's
at the very bottom of the screen,
chat.
look for a little symbol that says react. It's a little smiley face symbol. Click on that.
Okay, that one. The reactions.
Yes, click on that, and it'll I'm sorry,
It's
wrong
over.
one. Chat.
Chat.
Open the chat. Huh, I gotta cut
Right
back
next to
on my meds.
participants.
Okay.
Holy cow!
I see Calendly.com.
Yes, that's it. That's it. That's my calendar. Is
Just
wide
copy,
open.
yeah,
You can
just
book time.
copy and paste that, or click on it
Just
right
do
now.
it.
Make an appointment, and you are golden, my friend.
Okay, I can see it. It says the Safari cannot open the page because the server cannot be found.
Oh, God.
I'm
you
sorry.
try it?
Is that a dud link,
Post
Meredith?
that.
You've
Look at the
given us
second
one,
dud,
the
first
dud
one.
links
I think the
again.
hundreds of people on here, I'll crash the.
Now, the first one is,
Just
the
wait,
first one is a
Brian is
mistake.
next. Yes.
Yeah, there's a slash mark missing.
And the questions still
So-
keep on coming.
What's up, Brian?
All right.
Okay,
Boy, this has been you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we
Yep.
can.
Of course,
Welcome.
I'm going to talk to you between picking up dog poop. But, I love these Zoom meetings because we can just carry on with our lives. And thank you guys for your time. So if you do you want to have some fun and drill down into my specific property? This is a really neat format you guys chose tonight.
Love
I've
to.
learned a lot by you guys discussing very specific projects, the pool in the guy's backyard, and all those things. It's very cool. All right, you ready for an address?
Yep.
1720 East Luray Street in Long Beach. Anybody know about Long Beach?
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
yes.
Oh, yep.
Oh,
We
yes.
love
Okay.
Long Beach.
So kind of my getting straight to my questions so we don't waste a lot of time with you. We just bought this as an investment property, really sticking our necks out, my wife and I. And so we've rented the front house. That's great. And they're happy tenants. And I've already let them know there might be some construction going on in the backyard. That's so far so good. But there is a 2-car detached garage in the back, plenty of room all around it, even including setback. To me, it looks like just gold. It's a corner property, and it's got lots of room to play with. Are you looking at it there? I think there's probably a little bit of a Zoom
Before we
delay.
get to that, Brian, I have to ask you a very, very important question.
Oh, yeah.
How is it dark where we're at and it's sunlight where you're at? Where are you calling us from?
I'm in Redondo Beach.
Oh, that'd be why.
Wow.
I no longer see my picture for some reason, so whatever. But yeah, I don't know what you're looking
It
at
looks like
up my
sun. It
nose.
looks like 4 o'clock in the afternoon there.
I
Okay,
know,
sorry,
I
It
sorry
is
to digress.
beautiful.
All right,
Yeah, no, it's beautiful here.
Meredith,
So
can
yeah,
you
if you
zoom in on
that
that
property there,
property?
yeah.
I
So
sure
there's
can.
And
Let-
I've been told kind of conflicting messages from the city. I actually did things legit from the beginning. I relocated the water heater from inside the house to the outside just to kind of put my toe in the water about how the permitting process goes. So I pulled a permit to do the water heater relocation. It went pretty good, and I was friendly with the inspector, and he says, "Oh yeah, you can do an attached ADU to the house. You can do a garage conversion. I was thinking about doing a conversion over the garage, which from your guys' conversation sounds kind of expensive. But my dream would be like, oh man, I'm just going to cash in and I'm going to do 2 separate rentals, one above the garage and one cleaning out the garage and do a 20 by 20 space, like a 1-bedroom studio in the 2-car garage. I've heard that we don't have to worry too much about parking reallocation issues and things, but I'm not really sure if I can do 2 separate rentals there, one above and one below.
For sure.
You definitely can. We will have to attach it. One part of it, probably maybe attaching the top story to the bottom to it, making the top story probably bigger and doing the small story on the bottom. But it's definitely doable. With the corner lots too, you get a lot more leeway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Meredith, can you zoom in really tight on that house? I just want to really kind of look down and
There you
examine it.
Keep going if you can. I'm going to turn my phone.
That's as far as it goes.
All right.
Brian, if you'll schedule a private with us, we can use Google Earth and zoom. I mean, I can see the blade of grass on your yard pretty good. We can zoom in, and the idea is that we can kind of look at it together and kind of figure the puzzle out. But yeah, you have an interesting idea, and so I think we just got to explore it and see what there is a coastal overlay in Long Beach, so we just got to be mindful of what they do. And so that the coastal overlay simply says, in addition to California, Long Beach has their own set of ordinances that you have to adhere to if it's in a coastal city. So we just got to find out what Long Beach says you can and can't do, and from there we'll figure it out.
Yeah, this is a classic example though, where if the 15-foot setbacks apply, then you have a ton of extra grassy area where
because it's a corner lot. He has options. There's more than one
Well,
option.
yeah.
And
I think
even
I'm
on the
going to
corner
leave the
lot,
front. I'm going to leave the front house alone. I think it's a 45 built house. It's in decent shape. I just don't really want to touch that. It's really the 2-car garage in the back that I want to heavily focus on.
I'll give you my gut, Brian. Here's what I think. I think most of us that have a garage, let's be honest, 25% of what's in my garage is important. The other 75%, I'm just lazy and I hoarded it. So if we say that we want to get a 10 by 10 storage unit and put my important things in a storage unit and the rest has to go to Goodwill or in the dumpster, we can open up that bottom garage unless you're using it for car parking. If you're using it for car parking, then disregard everything I just said. But if you want to create 2 units on top of each other, you can. And it's surprisingly affordable, and it'll pay like a slot machine because of your zip code. You'll bring all the money on that one.
I would think there would be a little bit of a return because you're kind of doing the what do they call that, where you're doing all the work at one time. So if we were to just do the upstairs one, that is one thing. But if we did both at the same time, maybe there would be a little cost sharing between the multiple projects at the same time. I'm hoping, but
no question.
I don't know
no
what
question.
I'm.
well, definitely. Yeah, no, you definitely will have cost sharing because we're building both of them at the same time. So even with the city.
It looks like rents are about $2,500 for a 1-bedroom. So
I think the garage unit, the garage conversion could be a 1-bedroom, 1-bath studio, and the upstairs, if we cantilever a little bit out from the 20 by 20 space, and then there's like a space in the back which we can kind of push back to the setback toward the back of the property. So the upstairs would probably get another 10 feet at least. So I'm hoping that the top floor could be at least a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, or
So
2-bedroom,
remember,
1-bath.
Brian, if you have and let's just say a typical 2-car garage is 20 feet by 20 feet, and it's 400 square feet. If we push one wall out only 5 feet, that's another 100 square feet. That's now 500 square feet, right?
There's
So,
definitely room to do that. Sure.
yeah, we can absolutely build a 1-bedroom for sure. What we'd want to do is figure out how we're going to do this support if we go larger, but it's just simple engineering. It's just what we do. We just have to analyze the property characteristics and see how best to go about doing that.
Rents on a 2-bedroom are 2,800 to 3,700, depending. So it's cash cow.
Yeah.
And Meredith, thank you very much. I was in actually your guys' last session, and it really opened my eyes to the financing thing, where you were talking about, hey, open a HELOC now, and then once you're ready to kind of lock that in as interest rates go down. And that was something I haven't forgotten. So thanks for that advice. It's really interesting to think about, because I wouldn't, so we just bought that house not too long ago, but one thing you said was, don't be surprised, you might be able to get a HELOC even though you just bought the house and there's not a lot of equity yet, or any,
Yeah, we're working on some products with that. There's a lot of development underway to a new loan products coming out to meet ADUs. For this one, I would probably end up doing a construction bridge loan for investors. So that's for properties that really only have 20% equity. In other words, you put 20% down, but they're super flexible. You can build more than one ADU and do any deferred maintenance and rehab all in one interest-only loan. But we'll talk about your options depending on the situation. Yeah.
We also own a house in Redondo Beach. And is it a good or a bad idea to touch the equity of that house to do the work on the Luray house?
That's exactly the kind of clever strategy I love. That would be my go-to strategy. Absolutely.
Is to do that, to touch because I kind of wanted to keep my primary residence out of the equation.
If you want to, that's fine. Yeah.
But that is a good way to go. If you did leverage that, it would possibly be a good way to go. It's at a super low interest rate right now as the primary. So
do a HELOC.
Brian, it's all about
do a HELOC on that one.
On the primary, your primary mortgages are always going to be your lowest interest rate. So we don't have to refinance. We can do a HELOC.
Okay.
And
I don't want to take up too much.
Brian, remember, it's about the return. So if we crunch the numbers, we figure out what's your return on investment. That data will stand on its own. So what we're just got to figure out is, we're not saying that everybody should do the same type of project, but some really, really make sense. And if you're saying that my first, thought was not to touch the Redondo Beach equity to build the Long Beach product, but maybe, I don't know, we have to crunch the numbers, let her kind of put it in the machine and see what it spits out. It could be a terrible idea, but probably not. It's probably going to be a real good one.
Yeah, we'll do a side-by-side comparison and you make the decision.
Do you guys, one last thing, I bet this is a common question. It's not specific about me, but since I've registered for your guys' ADU thing, or I'm looking at ADU stuff, my Facebook is just completely going crazy with advertising about solar panels and financing and HELOC and credit cards and things. And, I look at all those solar panel offers and stuff and just, yeah, right, that just must be a bunch of scam. Is it really that ubiquitous that just everybody's out there doing solar panels now, or do you really got to be careful with that
you
stuff?
Can blame Mark Zuckerberg, because the algorithm in Instagram and Facebook knows everything we think and everything we want to do and everything that we're going to do. So I wish that was a better answer, but no, they haven't figured out. When we go on Google or Facebook or Instagram, there's a footprint called a cookie, and guess what? It follows us.
Yeah. They see you click on
no
one
doubt.
thing and they go,
it's really
the
the danger, or the succumbing to that that abundance of advertising. I mean, I would suppose I can't wait to actually get my teeth stuck into whatever company I choose, to really get down to drilling into what makes sense as far as solar panels and things like that go, because I know it's inevitable. but it's just a matter of which programs you qualify and how many promises they're making and free this, free that. And it's like, I don't know if I believe any of that.
You know, the thing, Brian, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. We can use common sense. You know, let's not be naive just because we're hoping it looks good. That's how we hear the contracting horror stories out there. And, you know, Meredith is a third party. She doesn't work for us, but she can attribute to lowballs. And everybody lowballs out there. We don't. And that's, you know, we're not the Motel 6 builder of ADUs or contractors. We're certainly not the Waldorf Astoria, but we're somewhere in between where we can create value because we've got seasoned, skilled builders and designers, but we got to pay them. And so if we said that we could do it for X and there's somebody out there that can do it for a lot less, I don't know. Maybe they can, maybe they can't, but they're not going to get the workmanship or the skilled people that we have. So sometimes we got to let go of that rope and let them fall off the cliff or whatever. I don't know, but
where are you guys physically located?
Glendale.
Okay. I kind of missed that in the whole thing.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thanks for your time.
And it
Thank
sure
you
is
very
nice
much
that
for-
we're an all-in-one service because yes, you are getting bombarded with a whole bunch of people that are offering you every little service to go along with this. But when you are working with ADU Resource Center, you're working with a collection of skilled people that will bring it all together for you. We're a turnkey service. From the Zoom call today to here's your keys, move on in. It's all ADU Resource Center.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
No problem. Thank you.
Let's see, Vic, you're at the helm. We got so many questions. I don't know if these have all been answered or not. We got a bunch.
We do have Irene though that has an address that she wants to take a look at. I have it up on Google Earth. I'll see if I can share it.
You want to pull it up there, Dan?
Yeah, I'll see if I can share it. Not sure what her question is.
You wanna-
It's
you
a
want
good
this one to
property.
be the last
It's a good property to show off. This
We're
one.
gonna ask the audience. We'll see a show of hands. If they want to keep going, we'll keep going. If they want to cut it, we'll cut it. But there's a lot of questions still.
So right here is Irene's property. I can't see the chat anymore, so she is asking a question about it.
What could they build on it? And I've pulled
yeah.
up rental income as well.
Definitely. So for here, if they didn't want to keep this garage, they have easily about, and this is what we'll do with you, 1,200 square feet. Mainly taking into account these setbacks and if you want to tear out the garage or not. So that would just change what you have to do.
Is that a shared driveway?
Yeah, it is a shared driveway. You see that sometimes in
Yeah,
old
so
LA.
we're just gonna have to make sure that they probably have a covenant agreement with their neighbor for that shared space, and we might have to stay out of
Probably
that
right about
area
here.
too.
So yeah, probably stay back this way.
So it looks like actually 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms in this neighborhood are about the same. 1 bedrooms go as high as 2,400. The 2 bedrooms go for 2,600. So if you've got the space for a 2 bedroom, it actually might make sense to have 2 1 bedrooms back there. And then now your income is 5,400 rather than a 2 bedroom, which is only 2,800.
Oh, here's the thing. Did we there's a lot on here. So, okay, so I'm gonna address this thing. You know what we were supposed to do tonight, everyone? We were supposed to try to keep this to an hour because every time we do this, we go 2 hours, we go, oh, we got to cut this thing down by an hour. And we run, but I think everybody's having a good time. So I'm gonna leave it up to the viewers. If you guys want to keep going, we can do all the questions and get to it. Or if you're tired and you want to stop, we can stop. So anybody that wants to keep going, raise your hand and then we'll vote. We'll see if we've got enough people. Jesse, you've had your hand up all night. Your arm's got to be dead tired.
I think we can work off of the people that have raised their hands.
Okay. Okay, so let's just see a show of hands. Who wants to continue? Because we can also continue this privately on a phone call tomorrow. So you're not stuck. You know, we're not going anywhere. Well, it looks like there's enough people that want to stick around. So, okay, so let's do this. The people that want to stick around, let's address their questions. And anybody that wants to sign up, send us an email. If you're tired, you want to go get a cocktail and take a breather, do it. And then get in touch with us, make an appointment with Meredith to click on her link. We can resume this tomorrow with you privately. You don't need to stay up till dawn. Okay. Let's see, who else?
So we have Jesse.
Can you post that telephone number 818-839-6889. 839.
That's mine.
Is that your number?
6889. Now I'm getting the number where I should. Can I get the Meredith's number so I can call her?
Yes, hang on 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Meredith, give
Yes.
him your number. You know, I'm
Yeah.
looking it up.
Can
know
you
by
post
heart.
it?
Keep going.
Now, Jesse, I gotta warn you. You're gonna call and you're gonna get a voicemail because you know what she's doing all day long, talking every 10 minutes to somebody. So if you sure you don't want to click on her link and make an appointment, because you'll get a voice where you'll never. I could get Biden on the phone quicker than I can get Meredith.
I think she's
I'm
having
telling
some
you.
trouble with
Okay.
her link.
She
so-
is a busy gal.
Okay, so what do I
Meredith, you're
need to do?
muted.
I just need to get a schedule in the calendar.
Or muted, I think.
Meredith, you're
Okay,
muted.
Meredith, you're muted.
Jesse, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna give you. You got a pencil there? You write down my number. You call me tomorrow.
Yes,
And
sir.
I'm going to send you an email with her link. You click on it, and I guarantee you the link I'm going to send you works.
Thank
Because
you
if
so
call-
much. Thank
if
you. Thank
if
you.
if you call her, she ain't going to be answering. She's talking to 10,000 people. So my number is area code 818-855 818-855-5844. So give me a buzz tomorrow. I'll give
584.
you, yes. So it's 818-855-5844. Give me a buzz. And if I'm on the line, I'll call you right back faster than she will. And I'll send you give
Yes,
me your
sir.
email.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Danny Johnson.
Danny. Okay,
I
Johnson.
am the head janitor here. Yeah. So
I'm
get
not trying to
me.
be a jerk. It's just that everybody's strategy session is really important.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. No, it's a big deal. So here's the thing. We can't obviously do what we do on the Zoom call tonight, but we can kind of wet their whistle and show them the possibilities. So Jesse, give me a buzz. I'll send you her link. You guys are off to the races. And I promise you we'll figure it out.
Okay, so we have a person.
Thank you so much,
Nas.
Danny.
My
Okay,
pleasure,
God
Jesse.
bless you.
My pleasure. You too. Bye-bye.
God bless you.
Nas,
No, wait. We got Shafiq.
Okay, there's a gentleman, I think, that's been trying to talk to us for a while. Schickelgruber. And I just allowed him to unmute. You can also type out your question and we will answer you. Let's see if he. gets
I
this.
do have to go though, guys. So.
Who was that, Dan?
Yeah, I gotta go.
You're gonna go have a beer. You know it and I know it. Come on, what are you doing?
I gotta go eat dinner.
We're stuck.
I
with
haven't
work,
eaten
and
yet.
You're
It's
gonna go.
8:30 and I
bar.
haven't eaten any dinner.
Good Lord.
I've been killing you in the chat though all day. All right, have a good one, guys.
All right. So who's next, Vic?
Shafiq?
Shafiq.
Shafiq? Mr. Shafiq, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me, guys?
Loud and clear, sir. Welcome.
Yeah, how are you guys?
Well, good. We're good. How are you?
Good. I know you guys are kind of tired after,
No.
extended hours.
No, we're good. We're good. How can we help you, sir?
Just I have a property. It's like 1,800 square foot. The living area and the property, the lot is 19,000 square foot, but the the 3,000 square foot is flat. So
Okay.
the rest it's like it has 3 layers of slope. It's a 10 foot going to 20 feet and then back, higher. It's more than 30 feet. So my point is just that I want to build an ADU at the back of my house, which is 3,000 square foot, and also converting a garage to an ADU on the right side. If you're googling, my property right now. I have like 15 feet at the right side.
What's your property address?
It's a 27032. It's a Preciados, Preciados Drive, Mission Vale, California. Definitely California 92691.
Got it. I'll pull it up. Go ahead, keep talking.
Okay, and so my plan is to kind of build. I would say I can do 3 units. I mean, 2 attached, 1 detached. If you see my garage, so I can convert my garage. Yeah, exactly. So on the right side, I have a like a 15-foot kind of 15 foot to the not to the property line. It's there is a like a V ditch between me and the neighbor, but the V ditch based on the recent survey, so that's inside my property. So that 15 feet is not included, to my to my old fence or existing wall, if you see there. So what I'm saying that so we can extend the garage to 500 square foot to give me a 2-bed 1 bath, and on the right side of the building, if you see, I can extend there, the right side also I can extend, like I have like 8 feet. Is it the rule is to extend or to align with the line of the garage, or I can go further? Is it?
Whatever you want to do, make sure that most cities are going to be between 4 and 5 foot property setbacks. So we can't encroach on anything within 4 to 5 feet. So I don't know. I can't tell. We can't zoom in quite that far to see what you got.
Okay.
But
so we have 8 foot, to be aligned with the garage. To be aligned with the garage. So it means that it's going to be 25 by 8 foot. So it's a lot, to kind of, extend on that end. And also, at the back, from the street side, the left side. So I wanted to do addition. Yeah, exactly. You see, there's a patio cover, not the black one, just the small one. Yeah, that side is a 13 by 16. So I wanted to extend, that side to make a room to my kid, and that's why the other side on the right side in front. So I wanted to build another ADU, like a studio there. So basically, to make it clear, I studio on the right side, on the right side from the street, side, the garage, 500, to the left side, to the left side, 250, and detached where at the back side you see the gazebo there.
yes,
So there's a gazebo.
Black.
So yes, exactly. So we can build, like an L shape, but on the left side I have more room. I at the right side, going towards my neighbor, so I have more room there because it's not a straight. It's started from 15 feet, so I can, I end up with 25 feet. What I mean by that, so I have more space. If I get a little bit slope, which is not very steep, it's not even. I wouldn't say 2 to 1. So on the right side, but going towards the slope, the main slope area, if you see it, so there are 3 levels. So that 10 foot, the first layer, yeah, exactly there, the first layer is like 10 feet. What are the possibilities, if you build a shore wall or something?
let me ask you a couple of questions and we can figure that out.
Okay.
Where is the property line at the very back of the property? Is it that white line we see?
Actually, okay, hold on.
Not showing.
I lost it. Yeah, I don't see it right now. Okay. So you see, exactly do you see the swimming pool?
Yes.
Mhm.
The swimming, there is a big tree on where your cursor, yeah, exactly. Just over here, there's like a line, you see? Yeah, exactly. That's
Mhm.
the property. That's the property line.
I see.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking as alternatives on
Mm-hmm.
the slope? Post and beam construction.
Oh, okay.
Just an idea.
Well,
Danny, what would you boys do?
let me ask something.
Wow.
What is the estimate? What do you guess the rise of footage from the lowest point of the backyard to the highest point? What do you think that, how many feet does it climb
Oh,
vertically?
so, okay, let's say the first would be 12, 12, the other one will be plus 20, I would say, or 22. So it ends up to 30 to 35 foot, I would
Okay,
say.
so
Yes.
here's the thing. So obviously all the overgrowth has to be gone. You're aware of that, right? That they can't be there. If you're going to build a house back there, that area, the foundation has to be created, and therefore you're going to have to decide if you're in love with your shrubs and plants and stuff. Can't be done, but let's
Mhm.
assume that you're already aware of that. You also have to figure out logistics. How is that area going to be prepped? Is there room for a bobcat to get in there?
Yeah, the right side, the right side, yes, we can open it, you know,
Okay.
as there's a existing, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that
And the
you
re-
have this much, yeah, the
All right,
big
so you
area.
understand why I'm saying that, because
Yeah, yeah, I got
you
it.
can't do
I
it
know
by
what you mean.
hand with a couple of guys and the shovels. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's got to be done with machines. So the choices are
Exactly.
then going to be,
Oh, come on, Danny. You guys are tough.
the choices are going to be, if we can level, the ground back there, it's going to require retaining wall engineering and or pylon caissons. So we decide one of two ways. If it's a mild slope, we do a bobcat grading, which they're going to want to have a retainer wall behind it to prevent erosion, so that the dirt behind the hill doesn't come sliding down and destroy the ADU. In some cases, they will ask for another retaining wall in front of the ADU, separating the main house, so the ADU, the weight of the ADU doesn't flatten the ground and push it forward. So that's one idea. The second idea is, if it's severe sloped, which yours is, you don't mess with the terrain. You leave the terrain alone. You put in pylons down into the bedrock. And so what happens is the pylons go down, they touch the bedrock, and then we create a flat, so it's on stilts, kind of like what you'll see in a canyon home or Malibu. But these are made of cement. And so what they go down on the ground. So we don't even mess with the terrain. We leave it alone. And now we create a flat foundation to work from on top of those caissons. Okay. Now that's the good news. The bad news is they're $7,000 each. Okay. So depending upon how many it takes to go in there, your foundation may require 10, depending upon how big you want to go. There's $70,000 just in figuring out the foundation for it. Right. So when you're building on a slope, you cannot run away from price. It's going to be expensive, but we do it all the time.
Right. So Shafiq, this is Berto speaking. So you have three areas that you want to build: convert the garage to a dwelling unit, add some square footage to get to 500 square feet. That's on the right side of the structure as you're looking from the street towards the front door. And then you have on the left side, you want another dwelling unit by the pergola for your son to live.
Yeah.
And then the area, the black roofed area on the right side, you have a lot of space there. You might, depending on what your needs are, you may not have to go much into that hillside. I think the way to do that, Shafiq, is to make that appointment with ADU Resource so they can design it for you. And let's say we only have to go in a couple of feet into that first hillside. The retaining wall isn't that expensive to accomplish that, but you've got a lot of space in the flat area. I'm assuming this area of Mission Viejo, I'm somewhat familiar. There's no advantage to building up on the hill because there's no views to take advantage of. Is that right?
Actually, it's gonna be a very good view. You mean the view wise? Yeah, it's
Okay,
one. Oh, yeah. If you
so
see in my right side, the neighbor at the top, they had a small pergola type of, on right side.
as
Uh,
you're looking at from
from
the
the
street,
street.
yeah.
Yeah, from the street. Yeah, you see that so on top they put something, that, but I can, well, sometimes when I go up, it's a beautiful view. That side is lower. I mean, the other side of the street is going lower.
Yeah.
So the view aspect of it, it's wonderful. It's
so Shafiq, that what you would have to decide is
okay.
if you put it up 20 feet, let's just say as an example, from the street level, you have to walk up 20 feet of stairs every time you want to take the groceries up to the other dwelling unit. So we can work with you either way. And we're very good building hillside, retaining walls, drainage, lagging, shoring, all that. And there's plenty of room to get a Bobcat back there. No problem at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got a great lot, 19,000 square feet, tremendous potential. You could have your entire extended family living there with you.
I'm going to spitball here too. So $70,000 is about $300 per month. $300 per month for a fabulous view. I think a renter in Mission Valley would absolutely pay for that. No problem.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm just giving the devil's advocate there. When people see a hillside like that, you're either grading or you're doing post and beam construction, 50,000 minimum, that's $225 a month.
And basically, just to remind you guys, so I'm also like a soil technician. I've been working in this field since 2010. So in terms of slope, it's so you guys know better. So it's a stable, it's a bedrock. So it's not in a landslide, it's not a liquefiable zone. So everything, the left side is 2-story building, on the right side we have one. So this kind of things, I guess it's gonna kind of would help us, on the building
Shafiq, I'll
aspect.
tell you my 50-cent opinion, and anybody that's got $1 million view, or if you have a property worthy of adding square footage with a view, it's worth every dime. For every dollar you spend, it'll be worth 3 when you're done. So you have to look at it in terms of investment. Are you enhancing the property profile? Yes, you are. Are you at risk of making a mistake? Probably not, because if you've got a view, you're in a good highline neighborhood and you're adding additional square footage, that there is no downside. It just means that it's going to be a little pricey. Now, the upside is it cheaper to build than it would be to buy? Yeah, it's 3 times more expensive to buy in your neighborhood than it would be to build. So if you can swing it and afford it, it's worth every dime. It is.
Just a last thing in terms of, that probably it's, Merit will answer this. It's regarding the loan. So I was in forbearance, like just wanted to take the advantage of, the assistance that the government provided last year. I ended it in April. So just have been starting my regular payments from March this month and forward. So would that impact or on
You're just fine. You're just fine.
Yeah, forbearance is legal. That was a legal condition that they said, listen, if you don't want to make payments during COVID, you don't have to, but you got to go through the forbearance process, which you did. So you're not a criminal. It's perfectly legal.
Yeah, so that's, and in terms of equity, so just for now, I would say I would have like 300 to 400, but I'm, I have been in the market, especially it all depends on the location. Mission View is like 20 minutes from the Laguna Beach. So I see a good projection for the future. If I build up or add more square footage, living square footage, definitely. So it's gonna increase or elevate my equity in the future. So
Wonderful.
That is one of the things I'm investing on more.
Good. Wonderful.
Very
good.
Mhm.
Okay. Shafiq, if you want to just, hit us up, hit Meredith up, and then if you have a successful conversation with her, she'll send you over to us for phase 2, and then we can kind of work backwards, whatever budget that you
Sounds
establish.
good.
Let's work backwards and figure out what can we build. So it's probably something pretty nice for you.
Yeah, and trust me, if we do that, so our left side neighbor and also the right side, he's a civil engineer, so he is ready, to build. Also, he said, I will go with you guys. So just it means it's gonna be like a 3 lots for you guys. Just it's gonna be this area and for this community, which they will see the income source. So definitely there will be more, people to be kind of interested to build.
Yeah.
So I already scheduled for tomorrow 11 o'clock. So I
The link does
already
work.
did. Okay,
What's
but you
Jesse
said
talking about?
she's
The link
not
works
pick
fine.
up. But she said she's not gonna pick up, so I'm kind of doubtful if I receive a call.
All right. Thanks, Shafiq.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
My
guys.
pleasure.
So we will be in touch. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Our pleasure. Okay, Naomi has been patiently waiting, Vic. Patiently waiting. Hi, Naomi.
She can unmute.
Unmute. Unmute. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Can you hear me?
Welcome.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I know I will try to kind of keep it short if I can. So we have, the address is, well, let's say like a 6,000 square foot lot, and the main house, if you can see,
What's the
is
address?
is 1030 Junipero Avenue, JUNIPERO.
Got it.
Long Beach.
Got it. Okay. Keep talking.
So yeah, we got like about 6,000 lot, and 1,100 is a main house, and we have this kind of like a bonus room shack. I know this is not gonna be a kind of quote unquote ADU potentially, but I mean, we still have I don't know what you can see, but there's a kind of room here. Can you see?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I don't know what you see, but
And this is on the back of the
so we do
property,
have
correct?
a kind of right. So this is like a kind of bonus room
Okay.
in a backyard. So we have a kind of backyard. I don't know, maybe it's 2 dogs to see, and then 2 detached car garage.
And you have an alley
So
on the back of your property as well, correct?
yes. So this side is alley next to the this bonus room.
Great.
That's a great
Right
alley
behind.
to have that.
Right behind is an alley, and there's no like a setback because I guess this one is kind of, this wall is directly next to the alley behind this. Well, maybe I don't know what you do. You see my face, or what do you see?
We see your face.
I don't know
We
what
see
you-
your property.
okay.
Yeah.
Meredith is sharing her screen, so maybe stop the share so we can say Naomi's. She's giving us a virtual tour right now.
Okay, yeah. So this is a kind of bonus room, and then right behind is an alley, and then it's got, I know it's so dark, but there's a bonus room. I mean, there are 2 car detached garage, and this area is all.
Naomi, how come
backyard.
Brian's property had sunshine at the beach and yours is dark?
I
Like what in the heck is going on?
Because
only an hour
I
later.
don't live in Redondo Beach. I'm in the south in Long Beach.
Okay.
But we have a driveway. You can kind of park 8 cars. Probably you can see it. So I'm not gonna even waste your time.
Yeah.
So I guess we should have we bought this house for 420 let's say 425. It should have an 825 in today's value. So we should have about 400 something for equity. So we're kind of like looking at a HELOC option to do this project.
Absolutely.
So, obviously we have a 2.99 rate, so we don't want to kind of, touch that. So we're kind of thinking about the HELOC.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have more than
And
15 different options. We'd love to earn your business.
that'd be great because, like, I did schedule the appointment on Friday, but today I have you, I have ADU people, and I have a contractor. So I wasn't too sure if I should jump in or I should be patiently waiting for Friday appointment. So I just decided to kind of talk.
Well, this is
because
going
the
to be more of
main,
a surface level overview, and we'll definitely dive deep into your project during our
okay.
independent consultations.
Yeah.
Because like a main house is only 1,100, so we have like 2 kids. So we were kind of thinking about maybe potentially sell this and then buy a new one. But as you know, having a 2.99 rate and buying a more expensive house in today's rate is kind of like just didn't sound like
The
something
math doesn't
feasible,
work, does it? The math
No.
doesn't work. The
Right.
timing is wrong right now. I
Right.
mean, if rates were like they were during COVID when they were screamer, you saw what happened to the market. The market went berserk. There was
Right.
now a bidding war, and you were paying over
Mhm.
asking price, so which was even worse. But it's actually probably better to keep the property with the low rate you have and optimize it by adding square footage. Maybe down the road you could sell and go that route, but the numbers don't work right now to go out and buy something. They just don't.
Yeah,
Right.
if you're paying $1,000 per square foot, that's terrible.
I know it's crazy. So I mean,
So Naomi, you
one thing, yes, one
Sorry.
thing is like to put that like an ADU somewhat. Maybe we kind of keep the garage because it's kind of in the location. Maybe we kind of do something in this spot. Probably this spot is like a shack. So I don't know, maybe this one's not gonna be converted into ADU. You might have to kind of tear down the whole thing because I don't think I'm not sure.
The best thing for
possible.
you probably is to bypass the video call altogether and just have somebody walk the property with you. Because
Please.
you have a unique
That would be great.
property, and we could
Mhm.
figure it out in about 10 minutes. Rather than try to fuss around with the video, we could get wrong
Yes.
data. But I think if we could just schedule an on-site and walk it together, the picture will unfold. We'll know what to do.
for sure.
That would
Naomi,
be fantastic.
I'd be happy to come out to take a look at your home. You have some beautiful vaulted ceilings, tongue and groove in the ceilings. It's very nice structure, and the street to alley quality to your lot is very nice. So
I was kind of thinking maybe we've been talking, maybe we put like a single level or potentially 2-story ADU and put the exit to the alley, and then maybe put some sort of like a between like a kind of wall or something between
A
to
privacy
kind of like
barrier. If you put a privacy
Right.
barrier separating the ADU property from the main house, everybody will be in love with each other. I think that
Right.
you have what potentially, you're in a golden zip code because it's going to bring all the money if you have a ADU tenant living there. So it
Right.
would benefit you to go a little bigger versus smaller because of your potential return on rent. I think that if you can build something worthy of getting a good number for rent each month, it's more than going to offset and pay for the expense of building it, and then you'll be happier. Because I think what people do is they sometimes scare themselves on the project on price, and they build it.
Right.
And then I'll just tell you, I've never heard this one when people say, well, I ask them, well, now that it's built, how do you feel about it? And they go, well, Dan, well, it's a little little nicer than we deserve. We probably wanted something a little smaller and more cramped that yielded less rent. I've never heard that one yet. But what I have heard.
Oh, I thought somebody was saying that.
No,
I was like, oh,
that
really?
was a joke. That was a setup.
Got it.
But what I
like,
have
what?
heard, I have heard just the opposite, where people say, we scared ourselves in the
Right.
beginning. So we promised not to go over budget. We didn't, but knowing what we know now, we wish we would have done what our instincts told us, but we got scared because it's the first time. It's our first ADU. We got chicken.
Right.
So I would say that
Mhm.
the biggest regret people have with ADUs is not building it, but not fulfilling the fullest potential because it's their
Right.
very first one
Right.
and they're scared of the numbers.
Yes. Because I potentially, or like idea is that we kind of wanted to kind of grow out of this neighborhood, but for whatever the reason that we just kind of discussed, it just kind of doesn't make sense for us to kind of buy a bigger house right now. So maybe we'll do like the ADU so that when we are ready to kind of maybe like the ADU will bring us enough income to qualify to purchase the next house without selling this property.
Think of it like
That's
this.
the goal.
Very
Think
nice.
of it like this. If you build an ADU, you not only add the square footage to enhance your property profile of the main house, correct? So you're adding value and it's increasing in value because of the new square footage, more bedrooms, more bathrooms. That's a good thing. But you have a family business out back called a rental. So what you now have is a property that comes with a business attached to it, right?
Yes.
You think that's going to be a plus when you put it on the market. It's there's going to be a cat fight over who gets to buy your property. That's a good thing.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So who is ready to come by right now? I'll bring some beer or whiskey or
Mike
scotch.
Vidich has assigned to this one already. He's ready to go.
Somebody here.
I think no, we're happy to come by. I think in your case, it would be easier to do it in person versus the video.
Yes,
because
that would be great.
we need to kind of snoop around and see what we got going. But let's do this.
Yes.
Let's have you speak with Meredith. You can work out the financing part of it. Once she determines what your budget is, let's work backwards from there and say, okay, now that we know what a budget is, let's figure out what we can build for you. And then you probably have 2 or 3 options that we can talk about. Okay.
Okay, so like Meredith first. I kind of schedule with you guys on Friday, but maybe I should hop into Meredith's schedule first, right?
It's all
Sounds right.
collaborative. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's
We'll figure
okay.
it
It
out.
doesn't matter who goes first because we're all going to be comparing notes at the end of the day anyway.
Sure.
And
So should I?
see your appointment with us on Friday. What time did you want to book?
I think I already put myself on Fridays 11:30 or something like that.
Friday at 11:30? Okay.
Oh, are you asking what time did I put my name?
What time did you put your name down for
I
Friday's
think
booking?
Friday
if you wanted to have
11:30.
Because I think we signed it
11:30
up for as a
Friday.
phone call first. And if we're going to switch this over to a on-site visit right away, then I'm going to have to just double check that works with the schedule. We'll verify.
Sure.
We'll
I
get
think
back to you.
Friday can work. So if
Yeah.
anybody is willing to come by, I
Okay.
can be here.
Now, I have to make an executive decision here because this 1 hour long webinar just went 2.5 hours. And I think people are dropping off like flies. So I think what we do,
Yes.
Vic, we're recording this, right? And so we have everybody's information. I just copied and pasted all the questions. We're going to try to go back tomorrow and figure out who asked what questions, and we'll try to call everyone and answer your questions in person because we couldn't get to it tonight. But I want to thank you all for joining us. Meredith, thank you very much for joining us. Berto, thank you for joining us. And before we sign off, we'd like you to meet our design team and see the office. Okay, we have one last item before we wrap it up for tonight's show. Please stay on 2 more minutes and meet the architectural design team in a short video and tour of our offices in Glendale. We hope you'll subscribe to our monthly webinar as we have new ideas on ADU design tips, value engineering ideas, controlling your construction budget, and listening to new speakers each month to get a variety of advice and recommendations for your own ADU projects. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you next month. Welcome, friends, to ADU Resource Center in beautiful downtown Glendale, California, right on Brand Avenue in the U.S. Bank Building, where we have plenty of free parking. Come on up to the 5th floor and say hi to our design team. While we take a short elevator ride up, I'll tell you a little bit about our company and what our services are. ADU Resource Center is a one-stop shop, and that simply means we take care of everything relating to the project. That means anything from architectural designs, structural engineering, Title 24 energy calculations, low-impact development calculations, and permit expediting. The design team is on staff. We do everything on the 5th floor, and as we walk into the building, you'll notice 2 conference tables for our customers so they can come down and sit with us and design and look at the big screen and figure things out together. During peak season, we might have several customers in at the same time, so we offer private rooms so that we can keep privacy and noise down. This is our private conference room with a beautiful view of the San Gabriel Valley Mountains. And what a view. Does it help us design better with inspiration? You better believe it does. So the next room we're going to go into is the architectural design room, where Santa's little helpers do all their magic. Well, that about wraps up our quick office tour. I hope you enjoyed it. Here's the printer where we print out all your plans. Come on down to ADU Resource and let us help get started on your design.